Assistant Allison Sherry is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old carpenter Alex Shearer, for breaking a lease, breaking a PlayStation, and stealing a ring.
Yeah, this is case number 574 on the calendar in the matter of Sherry versus Shearer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Sherry, the defendant was your boyfriend and you lived together for a period of time. It is your claim that he moved out before a lease that you had both signed was up. You want him to pay his half of the rent for the duration of the lease.
Yes.
You want him to pay for certain personal property that he took, a ring of yours, that he broke your son's PlayStation. You want him to pay for that.
Yes.
In general, you're just not happy with him.
Right.
Mr. Shearer says that he couldn't live with you, that you made living there unbearable for him. It got to be violent. And he did, in fact, take a ring that I think belongs to you. But he said he took it because you took it off after an argument, and he said you didn't want it anymore, so he took it. As far as the PlayStation is concerned, Mr. Shearer says that he broke that by accident, but you stepped on his model plane on purpose, and it was much more important and had sentimental value to him, and the PlayStation didn't have sentimental value to you, so you're even. Sounds like a very mature relationship. How old is your son?
6.
Not Mr. Shearer's child.
No.
How long have you and Mr. Shearer been an item?
It would be a year in April.
When did you move in together?
We moved in together in New York for the first time at the end of last year.
So you knew him a couple of weeks before you moved in together?
Yes. And we decided to move down to North Carolina in November of 2004.
And that's when you signed the lease?
Yes.
What was your arrangement with regard to the rent?
We were both responsible for half of everything.
Is that the arrangement?
We didn't have any arrangement, basically. We had both signed the lease that we both agreed to, but as far as who was going to pay for what, there was nothing, we didn't have any type of agreement, basically.
Well, how was the rent paid when you were living in New York?
She paid the rent, but I gave her money every week.
How did you do that?
At the end of the week when I got paid, I just gave her cash.
How much cash did you give her?
Between $100 and $200 a week.
Is that right?
Yes.
And is that what happened when you moved down in November?
No. When we moved down in November, we took our money, we put it together, and we got into the house. We didn't...
Okay, just a second. So you each had a savings account?
No, we were both working.
So you had a checking account, and each of you put your money in a
No, we had
pot?
cash.
Well, what do you do for a living?
I'm an administrative assistant for a flooring company.
So you get paid by check?
Yes.
And you?
I'm in construction.
You get paid by check as well?
No, I get paid in cash.
What kind of construction are you in, sir?
General contracting, interior finishing work.
You do file tax returns, don't you?
Yes.
What happened when you moved out, sir? And what date was that?
I'm not sure exactly what the date was.
Maybe you know.
February 18th.
So you lived there November, December,
I'm
January.
sorry, we got into a fight on the 18th. He moved out on the 20th.
So you lived there for 3 months?
Yes.
And how was the money handled from November until February?
In November, we were staying at my uncle's house. We stayed there until February. We signed the lease in February.
Oh, so you were only there for a couple of weeks?
Yes.
Well, what happened on February 18th?
We got into an argument. I had gotten a phone call from an old friend who I hadn't talked to in a long time. Alexander got very mad, very angry, was slamming doors. I went in to talk to him. He didn't want to talk to me. We just started arguing about everything, and he started running through the house and breaking things.
Did you break anything?
Yes, I did.
What did you break?
He was running through the house. He went in my son's room, and he was looking for something that he couldn't find. He was destroying the room.
What was he looking for?
I don't know.
So what did you do?
So I told him if he did not stop destroying my son's room, I was going to go and break his plane because he was destroying the room.
What do you mean destroying the room? Explain that to me.
Ripping things apart, ripping things out of the closet, moving everything around.
But not breaking anything?
No.
He didn't break anything?
No.
So you told him if he didn't stop acting a little bit crazy, you were going to break something?
Yes.
And what did you choose to break?
His airplane.
Now, why did you choose to break his airplane?
Because it's the only thing he cares about.
Why is it the only thing he cares about?
He's infatuated with helicopters and airplanes.
Who made it?
I guess he did.
Is that right?
Yes.
How big was it?
It had a wingspan of 53 inches.
So that's a pretty big plane. Where was it kept?
I'd keep it in the house, but she didn't want me keeping it in the house. She said it had to stay in the garage, so that's where it was.
How did you break it?
I stepped on it.
And you stepped on it because it's the only thing you cared about?
Yes.
Nice. And 2 days later, he moved out.
Yes.
Doesn't sound to me as if you were the kind of lady I'd like to live with.
He's not the easiest person to live with either.
That's fine. Then he should move out.
I understand that, but we moved into the place, we signed a lease, we were both responsible. The only reason we moved to North Carolina was so that we could be together. I didn't even want to move down there.
Listen, when you have an argument, if what you did was you chose to destroy the only thing that he values, which is what you told me. I chose to go in and to destroy the only thing that Mr. Sciarra cares about. You chose to destroy?
Your Honor, he was destroying my son's room.
No, he wasn't. He was pulling things apart.
No, he was
just
ripping
listen to
the
me.
room apart.
Listen to me. I asked you specifically. I said, did he break anything? He said no. But I told him to stop because he was acting nutty. And if he didn't, I was going to go and destroy the only thing that was valuable to him. So you did it. So you're living in the house. You're living by yourself. Sounds perfect to me. Did you sign off on the lease?
No, I haven't.
Well, I would if I were you, sir, because if she doesn't pay the rent, they're going to come after you.
Right.
What was the rent?
It was about $975 a month.
And what was the what?
$925.
And what was your rent in New York?
$1,200.
Well, so if you could afford $1,200 in New York, you can afford $925 in Carolina. All right, so let's move on from the rent. Now you heard my answer, madam. You know, there are consequences to people's actions.
I understand
the consequence to your action, there is a consequence to your action.
I understand that. Is there a consequence to his action? I have a police report against him.
Listen to me. I don't care what you have. I'm taking evidence now. There is a consequence to your actions. If you choose to move out of this apartment, and if the landlord chooses to go against you and or the defendant for the rent, that's a whole different story. But what you want is you want him to pay half the rent while you're living there. And I'm telling you that I believe that he had not only the right, but in addition to having the right, he exercised good judgment in moving out when you chose during the course of an argument to destroy the only thing that you say he valued. And I'm saying before this escalated into violence, and violence would have been perpetrated in the presence of your 6-year-old son, he exercised good judgment in moving out, and you pay the rent. Now we're moving on to the PlayStation.
He did put his hands on me in front of my son. I have the pictures, I have the proof, the document, and everything.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Sherry says ex-boyfriend Alex Sciarra owes for breaking a lease, breaking a PlayStation, and stealing a ring. Alex says he moved out after Allison smashed his model airplane.
You broke the PlayStation.
Yes.
You have to pay for that.
It was an accident. I didn't do it.
If it's an accident,
right,
Mr. Sciarra, during the course of this whole thing, somebody has to pay for it.
Exactly. Yes.
Who caused the accident?
I caused the accident.
Then you pay for it.
She's not paying for my airplane.
She's stuck with the whole rent.
Because she decided to stay there, though. She could have left, and
I could not leave. They would not let me out of the lease.
Just a second.
If
Just a second. Mr. Sciarra, did you hear what I said, sir? You broke the kid's PlayStation. You're going to pay for it.
I didn't do it deliberately. It was an accident.
I don't give a rat's behind whether you did it deliberately or in your sleep. And if you had a counterclaim with regard to the airplane, I would entertain it. But you don't. How much was the PlayStation?
$150.
Now, where's the ring you took?
It's in New York.
What's it doing in New York?
I bought the ring for her because she had told me that she wanted it. She had always worn it. She likes her rings and always wears them at all times. The only time she ever takes them off is when she goes to sleep. When we were fighting, she took it off and she put it on the counter in the bathroom, as if to say that she didn't want anything to do with me anymore. So as I was leaving, I decided that she didn't want it anymore, obviously, because she took it off. So if she didn't want it, I would take it.
Well, you can't do that, Mr. Sciarra. Once you make a gift, she could do whatever she wants with it. She wants to take it, she wants to bury it in the backyard, put a tombstone over it. That's her prerogative. You understand?
Yes.
She wants to make that a symbol of the demise of your relationship. She can do that. It's not up to you to determine what you're going to do with a gift that you've given that you have no control over anymore.
Okay.
So, you have to return the ring to her. 5 days from today, she's to get it back. Clear?
Yes.
Perfect. Anything else we have to discuss?
Electric bills from when he was there and when we were staying at my uncle's house.
I'm not interested in that. You get your ring and your son's PlayStation. The other stuff is nonsense.
We were responsible for the electric bill at my uncle's and also in the new house. So he's not responsible for any of his bills?
He's not responsible for anything, madam, for the 2 weeks that he was living in the apartment.
What about the 3 months we were living at my uncle's house?
I'm not hearing it. Get over it. It's over. You get your ring back, and he had no right to break your son's PlayStation. And you had no right to destroy his property.
And he had no right to take my phone, so I couldn't call anybody to come to the house, and he had no right to leave
All right, the
marks on my
following
body.
is the judgment of the court. The plaintiff gets $150 for the PlayStation and her ring back in 5 days. Thank you very much. Have a happy life.
Why does that excuse you? Step out.
It had been building up and got out of hand, basically.
He should have had to pay for what he did. Instead, he gets to run home to daddy and do nothing.
She made it a point that I couldn't have any of my ex-girlfriends calling me.
He was just jealous over anybody that talked to me.
We were both jealous people, and, you know, it just, one thing led to another, and it escalated to the point in which it did.
All parties in the matter of Feynman versus Hernandez. Step forward.
Aspiring author Annie Feynman is suing her former astrologer, Anita Hernandez, for breach of confidentiality. Annie says Anita used her pen name without permission.
Ms. Feynman, your lawsuit alleges that somehow Ms. Hernandez published something with your name on it. It wasn't your name, it was a pen name that you used, and that people might recognize the pen name and attribute whatever problem it was to you. So I want you to explain to me and to Bird here, what did she publish, when did she publish it, why it caused embarrassment to you, and why you think that she breached some sort of confidentiality arrangement she had with you. Let's go.
Okay. I've been in a depression for a while, so I decided to consult an astrologer. And I gave her some personal details of what had been happening.
You're an astrologer?
Yes.
How did you find her?
I had been seeing her website for quite a while, and she's very...
On the internet?
Yes. She's a very interesting astrologer, and I thought this would be an interesting way to maybe solve some of the problems I'm having. So the email name I use, the Flame McBain email name...
The what? Flame?
Flame McBain, which happens to be the main character of a novel I wrote, which I'm sending out to get published. It isn't published yet. That's why I'm nervous about this information being sent all over the internet, because I'm afraid a scandal might come of it, because the information she put out in a newsletter...
Just a second. You're getting ahead of yourself.
Oh.
So you wanted her to do what?
I wanted a chart.
You wanted a chart?
Yeah, some astrological calculations as to what was happening. Very personal, embarrassing details.
Ms. Feynman, you sent this over the internet?
Yeah.
Go ahead. So,
okay.
Along with personal details that you wouldn't want a stranger to know about.
I thought it was just going to Miss Hernandez. Well, you have a point.
What I want to see now is how you published her problem, because what she's complaining about is that you published her problem and people could identify her.
It's a limerick.
It's a limerick. I remember limericks from high school.
Ogden Nash.
Don't let them see that. Is this what you're complaining? I want you to take a look at that. Is this what you're complaining about?
Yeah, this is exactly what... She had sent out the newsletter. I didn't get it, coincidentally enough, but my friend did. My witness got it. That's why I found out about it.
Okay. Can I see it, please? Suffice it to say, without going into details, which would be even more embarrassing for you, because instead of a few people getting it on the internet, hopefully, since our courtroom is televised, hopefully tens of millions of people will be watching.
And won't know the details.
And won't know the details. So you were asking about a situation that you had that involved something personal.
Right.
And she responded by writing a little poem and identified you by the use of the name that you sent her, which was Flame McBain.
I've used this name for 8 years. People know that it's me. Had she just said my client, it wouldn't have been a problem.
It wouldn't have been a limerick.
Just a second. Just a second. Why did you use that name when you sent her?
I didn't. She used it from my email address.
Right. And she says clearly, no real names used.
Right, but I've used that name for 8 years. people know it's me.
So what? She didn't use any real names, and the only way she could convey to you things were by using your name.
Beyond what's happening now, I'm very nervous that if I do get published, that this would come out to be used against me in the future and cause me public embarrassment. I wanted to, like, get it over with now.
Her novel is about a hooker.
Listen.
Her novel is about a hooker.
Miss Hernandez,
Yeah,
Miss Hernandez, put it away. Put it away. Miss Feynman, listen to me very carefully.
Third generation.
What word of be quiet didn't you understand?
B.
You didn't understand B?
B.
We're going to try it again, because Bill Clinton, you're not. If you're afraid that the name Flame McBain will come back and haunt you if your novel is published, is that what your real concern is? Change the name.
Change what name?
Flame McBain.
It's too late. It's copyrighted, and the book is...
Just a second. Nobody bought it yet. If somebody...
I have sold it unpublished.
Listen to me. If somebody buys it, change the name. Miss Feynman.
I can't do that.
Get it. Why can't you?
That's my character's name.
Change it. If you're afraid of being embarrassed, change the name.
Way too late for that. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Listen, if you don't want something to be out there in the general, wherever they put the
I mean, it's
things,
already
listen to me
copyrighted.
carefully. Wherever they go in the internet, wherever things go in the internet, you know, into outer space, don't put it in writing. Nothing is private that's on the internet. And if you didn't learn that before, this is a very good lesson. And if you're not afraid of it being out there, but what your real fear is that it may negatively impact on your book, change the name of your heroine. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Scandal, embarrassment, shame.
She loved the poem, and she said, I love it.
I can't change the name of the character.
Sorry stories like that are what I teach from.
It has put me into a dilemma.
And I needed it, and I used it.
She's a very good astrologer. I just don't trust her. I'm sorry.
I feel bad that she feels bad.
Your Honor, this is case number 230 on the calendar. Bear with me. In the matter of Greco-Reese versus Haspatka.
Who's Haspatka?
Me.
Good. Go.
Heinlein, Hamilton, and Archulewski. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
You see, when you're in charge, you could take certain license. So let me show you what I'm going to do. That's
Okay.
Mr. A, B, C, and D.
I wish I could have done that.
Where is your rental property?
Omaha, Nebraska.
And you rent this house to college students.
Well, I just rent it. It just happens to be college students that always...
You've rented to college students
Well,
before,
yeah.
so you rent to college students.
Yeah.
You have any dislike for this property? You hate this property?
This is the first time I've ever had any trouble.
Did you always rent to girls in the past?
No.
You rented to boys? Mm-hmm. Never had any trouble?
No.
Miraculous. How big is this house that you rented, Mr. A?
It's a split entry, 4-bedroom. I don't know the square footage.
And what was the rent on the house?
I believe it was $950, split 4 ways.
And when did you start your lease?
August 1st, 2003.
Name of the university you attended?
University of Nebraska at Omaha.
What year are you in?
4th year, senior.
Senior as well. Senior. Senior.
Raise your hand if you're a good golfer.
Is that anybody in here?
No, just you. All right, Miss Reese, this is the situation. According to your complaint, these 4 young slobs destroyed your house, and in addition to leaving the place a mess, they decided to play golf off the roof of your house at some point and cause substantial damage to your roof.
Yes, ma'am.
So you want them to pay for the repairs.
Yes.
The boys say they didn't have a chance to clean up because you changed the locks on the house, which must have been the month of July, right?
Correct.
End of July, yeah.
End of July.
End of mid-July, right?
Yeah.
Well, end of mid-July.
End to mid-July.
I don't remember the
sorry.
exact date. Sometime after the 20th of July.
So the end of July, she changed the locks.
Yes.
Why do you think she changed the locks, gentlemen?
I don't know. She claims that we abandoned the house, but we did not. We still had property in there.
Did you pay July's rent?
No.
Well, just a minute. Mr. D says yes. You say no. Mr. D, did you pay July's rent?
The security deposit, she took that as last month's rent, is what she told us. She said we didn't have to pay last month's rent. She would keep the security deposit.
Why would anybody in their right mind say that until they inspected the house?
Good question.
No,
Who did
no
she
idea.
say that to?
On the phone. On July 19th, the day rent was due.
July 19th. And what did you say?
She called me. I was in bed. She woke me up and she said, she was talking about rent due today, and I said, yeah, I know. I'm going to bring it down later. And she said, but if you guys, don't pay it, I'll just keep the security deposit as last month's rent.
Is that what you told him?
No, ma'am. There was so much damage in the house that I could have used another 2 months' rent to fix what I fixed in that house.
Listen, Mr. A, maybe it's just that you were groggy.
No.
Because what you just told me was that you said to your landlord, I'm going to bring the rent down later on today, and she said, nah, forget it.
She didn't say, nah, forget it. But she left me with the understanding that
that's different.
If we did not pay last month's rent, I don't remember exact words, I'm sorry, this was a long time ago. I was under the understanding when I hung up the phone that if we decided that we didn't want to pay last month's rent, she would keep the security deposit.
Well, maybe you said to her, maybe since you don't remember the exact words, and maybe the impression was left with you because you said to her, I'm not giving you the last month's rent, keep the security deposit. Because then, that was on the 19th, sir?
Yes.
When did she change the locks on the house?
Like I said, sometime after the 20th. It was
well,
about,
that would have been,
about
listen to me,
okay.
Listen to me, that would have been the very next day. So that makes sense to me. What makes sense to me is she called you and said, where's the rent? And you said, you're not getting the rent. You keep the security deposit. And then she says, oh, yeah, I'm changing the locks on the house. That makes sense. Not, don't come down and pay me the rent. I'll keep the security deposit for the last month. And then she goes in and changes the locks. That doesn't make sense. Okay, now, what I would like to see from you is photographs of the house if you have it.
Got those here.
And after I look at the photographs of the house, I would like to hear from your witness, if any. I assume that this is your witness, who's going to tell me something about these golf balls being hit off the roof, which A, B, and C deny. And D. Forgot about you. Sorry. Well, something's going on up there. Do you have major hailstorms?
No.
Nebraska?
Not that year.
Yes,
Huh?
yes, we did.
Major hailstorms?
Not that time.
You're kidding me.
It was probably the worst year for hail we've had in quite a while, actually.
Really? And you think that the hailstorms did this damage to the roof?
I don't know what the damage looks like, but...
Well, I'm going to show it to you. You can bring this over and share it with A through D.
Pass them down, boys.
Your Honor.
I assume since you didn't see the damage and you don't know anything about the
I
damage.
do know one thing.
Yes.
I found out today that they had a fifth person living in my house because the man that came to help the last D,
Mr.
to
D.
help D
Perfect.
move out, was the one that told my new renters what they did, and they started at July 4th.
Just a second. You're the new renter?
That's correct.
Tell me your name.
Robert Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, when did you meet these gentlemen, if at all?
I believe it was either the 25th or shortly after the 25th of July.
And where did you meet them?
At the home.
What were they doing there?
They were removing their belongings.
Did you have a conversation with any of these gentlemen?
Yes, I had a conversation with a close friend of the defendant's. He said to me...
Just a second. What was his name?
You know, I don't recall at this time. I'm kind of flustered with names. I don't recall names very well. I'm more of a face person.
I can't take your testimony. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
This is a court. Court, we take evidence, Miss Reese. If this young man had had a conversation with one of these defendants, then certainly he could have testified if any of them made an admission to him. But you want me to take his testimony about somebody whose name he doesn't know, who's not present today, and that's hearsay, okay, to support your case. So I can't do that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Go Reese says her former tenants, Joel Hospodka, Ronald Heinlein II, Adam Hamilton, and J.J. Archieweski for damage to a rental property. Gail says the house looked like it had never been cleaned.
Okay. Do you have any photographs of the interior of the house, Miss Reese?
Your Honor, I lost, well, I didn't lose them. My sister-in-law did, but I have the letter I sent them with all the things that were wrong with the house. It was the abandonment letter that my attorney told me to write to them.
Whose job was it to clean the bathroom?
Kind of a joint effort.
Well, nobody, I see nobody raised their hand.
It was.
Okay. Who cleaned the bathrooms?
Usually probably me.
That would be... Because it says here, the bathrooms, and in big letters it says the bathrooms were disgusting. It appears as if it has never been cleaned. Well, based upon the lack of showing of hands, I would say that that's probably true. It's too late. Too late. Holes in the walls in the master bedroom, broken window, broken door frame. Who had the dog? Raise your hand. Dog! Mr. D, Mr. A. What kind of dog did you have?
We had 3 Chihuahuas.
Whose job was it to pick up the poop in the house from the dogs?
Whoever's dog it was.
Everybody pretty much.
And who did it?
We all did.
We all did.
Oh, there was some you missed.
Small dog.
Small dog. It's disgusting. You know, but you know.
Your Honor,
I've had 5 children who all went to college and who all, at one time or another, lived in rental property. And I remember I used to check to see if my inoculations were in order before I went to visit them. And if they would ever ask me, would you like to go visit my friend's house, I would say, no, thank you. They can join us for breakfast at McDonald's. Because I don't go to anybody else's mess. Bad enough I have to go and look at your mess. Yeah. So you have to understand that you've been very fortunate if you haven't had a mess.
This is the first time I've had it this bad.
I'm not even addressing the golf balls over here because you don't have any proof of that. You don't have any confessions and you don't have any witnesses who saw them hitting golf balls off the roof. And I'm not going to get any admissions from these guys because nobody even wants to admit who did the bathroom. Aside from the roof, let me see estimates of the damage to the house.
I didn't have them because I just wrote everything down when I sent them in that abandonment letter.
Yeah, well, that's not
and
good enough.
At the time of the lease, when they signed the lease, they asked if they could have 1 dog.
I don't care whether they have 1 dog, they can have 1 dog, they have 20 dogs. They got to clean up the dog's poop and not leave it in the closet. Listen, they did not pay the last month's rent, and they were there after the 18th of July. Therefore, they owe you the entire month's rent. That's $950. And based upon what I see in your abandonment letter and what they concede about the condition of the house, that they had 2 dogs, I mean, that's not something that you guess at. You guessed that they had 2 dogs. You found remnants of the dogs there. I can guarantee you that it cost $900 to fix up the mess that you left in the house. So you owe a $950 for rent and you owe a $950 for cleanup. Well, you've already paid her $950 because that used your security deposit. So, gentlemen, you owe the plaintiff $950. Divvy it up. That's it. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
One of their friends told one of my new renters why the roof was damaged.
Everything on the roof is baloney, if you ask me. We've never went on the roof. I don't know where she got that from.
I changed the locks and told them they had to call me when they were ready to get their stuff, that they were not going into the house.
There was stuff that we damaged. She didn't have a chance for us to fix it. I mean, she just changed the locks.
They're seniors in college. I hate to see what they did in high school.
We're 4 college guys. Obviously, there's going to be damages done to the house.
I feel sorry for the ladies at Miriam.
In my opinion, she's a pathological liar. Now I understand why she's single.
And construction worker Ron King is suing his ex-fiancée, customer service rep Candy Oliveri, for a loan and an engagement ring. Candy is countersuing, claiming Ron has been harassing her.
This is case number 361 on the calendar in the matter of King versus Oliveri. Why has it been sworn in, Judge? You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. King, Miss Oliveri was your fiancée. That relationship terminated. You want the ring back, and you also want a loan that you made to her returned. In addition to that, you claim that she has harassed you. You want to be compensated for the harassment, and Miss Oliveri says that the ring was not an engagement ring. There was never a loan made, and that you, in fact, have been harassing her. She is counterclaiming. How long were you a couple?
About 5, 6 months.
Had you ever been married before?
Yes,
How many times?
twice.
How old are you?
42.
Who is this?
This is my girlfriend, Shelley.
You just roll right into... Don't let any moss grow, huh? So first, let me hear about the loans, sir. When did you make the loans to her? What were they for?
They were for her kids to get an apartment.
These your children?
Yes, they are.
Why did they have to get an apartment?
Well, I guess he got kicked out of his dad's house, and I guess her and her boyfriend split up, and then she was... Actually, Kenny was living with me for a while, then she brought her daughter in, then her grandson, then her other daughter.
Sounds to me like you got out just in time.
Yes.
So I wouldn't sue her, sir. I would say thank you and thank you, Lord. And be on my way.
Thank you, Lord.
I want you to tell me about the commitment that she made to you with regard to repaying the money.
When I lent her the money in June to get the apartment, it was for her kids. They were staying with me. And every month got longer and longer, and then in June, the guy called and said, yes, the apartment's ready. So on June 28th of '04, I lent her $300.
That's not so, Your Honor. It was not a loan. When I offered to pay it back, he said, no, whatever you need. And it was not for months on end that my oldest daughter and my grandson lived with Ron and I.
When you say you offered to pay it back, that suggests to me that there was an initial agreement to pay him back. So there was a time when he gave you this money that you intended to pay him back. That's what your statement suggests to me.
But we lived together and shared expenses.
You didn't share expenses for taking care of your children. These adult children are not his responsibility.
Right, no.
So you took the $300, and then you tried to give him the $300 back.
I offered.
Well, what do you mean you offered? You must have said to him, can you loan me the $300? And he said yes.
Whatever you need. What were his words.
Okay. All right, Swifty, $300. Now, let me hear about the ring.
On August 1st, she looked for like 3.5 to 4 hours looking at a ring. Then she finally picked one out, and I proposed to her when we got the ring. And like 3 days later, after she got the ring, she came back from work saying, this ring's a piece of, you know, everyone has one just like it. I hate this ring. And then that day she said, I hate this house. You should have a nice new house, you know, or at least put a new front door on or something. My house in 1940, but it's my house anyways.
What'd the ring look like, Mr. King?
Had 3 stones.
What kind of stones?
Diamonds.
Where's the ring?
On my finger.
Can I see it, please?
Sure.
What did he say to you when he gave you the ring, Miss Oliveri?
The initial plan was to go and find a ring, to have a ring on my finger before we actually ordered a ring that we were going to have customized at another jeweler. So this was just something for the mere fact that we were going to be married in June of 2005.
Looks like a nice engagement ring to me.
I have the actual drawing of the ring that we both went to look at.
When did you go to look at another ring? After you bought this one or before?
Well before, in May.
And did he ever purchase that ring?
No.
Good, because he purchased this one. Who paid for this?
I am paying for it.
Good, you get it. Give it back to him. Now you got it.
Thank you.
And you have $300.
Thank you.
You want to get to the harassment, sir?
Me? Yes. On September 18th, I went to her house to pick up the ring and the money.
Why did you do that?
She told me to come to her house. If I wanted my stuff, I was supposed to go to her house and pick it up.
What stuff?
I have a little bit of clothes there, like a sweatshirt and stuff like that.
Your Honor, that's not so.
Just a second, I'll get to you in a minute. Go ahead.
So I went there to pick it up. When I got there, they didn't want to answer the door, and I could hear the little baby in there. And then her daughter said, my mom's not here. I called the police or whatever, and I said, okay, you know, I just came to get my stuff that I was told to get. Then I guess she filed a restraining order on me the next day. And on Monday, she called my employer, and here's a letter from my employer that she called my employer harassing me at work, too. And she's the one who did the harassing, not me.
Why did you call his job?
Just to inform Human Resources of the type of person that we were dealing with.
They were dealing with the same person who's been employed by them for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Evidently, they have not had a problem.
Outside of work, he's a totally different person.
That may be, but I don't see any reason for you to call his place of employment, where he's been employed for almost a quarter of a century, unless you're just being spiteful and miserable.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not
being
spiteful, not miserable.
Not at all.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
I also have police logs on the 2 situations that took place the 18th and the 19th.
I'll take a look at it.
And I have the actual restraining order if you'd like to take a look at it as well.
Is it a final order?
Yes, it is, for
Can
1
I
year.
see it? Did you have a trial, Mr. King?
Yes.
And after the trial, the judge entered a restraining order telling you to stay away from her house.
Actually, I was like, they had jury duty that day, and there was a big line, so I was late getting into the courtroom.
Yeah.
And so I never heard nothing from the judge. They just gave me that paper.
So you did not have a trial?
No.
So there was a default because you didn't show up?
Yes.
Well,
and on that case,
yeah,
she has a friend who's a judge over there in Rancho Cucamonga. He called my house on the 20th to tell me to appear in court on the 21st.
That was not a judge, Your Honor. He was to be subpoenaed over the telephone.
Are you telling me that someone notified him a day in advance to appear in court?
That was for the initial, not for the actual hearing. That was for from the 18th and
Listen
the 19th.
to me, Mr. King. I'm not sure what kind of a vindictive person she is. So if the reason you didn't appear here was because you got stuck on the line or because you had another valid reason, I would ask that this case be reopened, because if she doesn't have the basis for a restraining order, you don't want a restraining order hanging around for a year. Do you understand? It's totally up to you.
Yes, ma'am.
You got it? Oh. Now you want to tell me about the harassment?
Yes, it was on September 18th.
That he came to your house?
Right. Tried to open up my door. They threw a substance on my car. There was a police report, and it's also on your desk there.
I want to see who saw him throw a substance on your car.
We did not see because my car was parked to the left of my...
I want to know is I want a witness who saw him throw something on your car. And you didn't have anybody?
No.
Oh, good.
The children were a witness of the threat that his girlfriend, Shelley, shouted out.
That has nothing to do with him?
She was there.
Who
She
cares?
did it as well, and him trying to open up my front door.
He wanted to get his stuff back, Miss Oliveri. Your counterclaim is dismissed on the complaint. Judgment for the plaintiff. He has his property back and also $300. Thank you. That's good.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She told me to come to her house to pick it up. I went there to pick it up, and then she filed a restraining order on me.
It was a shock to me 2 days later when I came home and he wasn't there.
They thought that she was my mom and threatened to kill her and all kinds of stuff.
A bunch of lies, and she was trying to get me for what she could.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ortega versus Gutierrez. Step forward.
Computer technician Netza Ortega is suing his ex-girlfriend, 26-year-old customer service rep Maribel Gutierrez, for unpaid loans to get her hair done and for the return of a promise ring.
Ah, Mr. Ortega. The romance is over. You want your jewelry back, and you want some money that you loaned to the defendant while you were together.
That's correct.
Ms. Gutierrez says you often gave her money. There was never any mention of a payback, and the jewelry you want back were gifts that you made to her, and you're not entitled to them back.
I feel that it's entitled back to me because they were actually a symbol of a relationship.
All right, let's take the simple ones first. The loan. When do you claim, and what year did you make her the loan?
June of this year, and it was to get her hair done, and it was for $50.
What's next,
Okay,
Mr. Ortega?
after that, it was another loan for $50 to get her hair done.
Get over it, Mr.
And then after that, it was another $40, and that was
to get her nails done?
No.
Manicure, pedicure.
No, that was actually
facial,
to get her
leg
diaper.
wax, whatever. Let's get to the jewelry.
Okay, the jewelry was given to her in April.
Did she go shopping with you for the jewelry?
No.
You went by yourself?
I went by myself.
And you went to a store and you picked out what kind of jewelry?
A promise ring. It was a butterfly made of diamonds.
And what else?
And then a month later, after I paid off the ring, I got her a matching pendant that went with it.
How much did you pay for all this?
About $325 total.
$325.
Yes.
So we're not exactly talking the Hope Diamond here.
No.
Is that right? Mr. Ortega.
Yes.
Is this your first girlfriend?
No, it's not.
How many girlfriends have you had?
I've had about 4.
Did you buy them gifts?
I bought them gifts.
And then you broke up with them?
Yes.
Did they give you back the gifts?
No, because I didn't ask them for those because there weren't actual agreements. The promise ring was an agreement that we would stay in a monogamous relationship. And now that it's over, I deserve that. I should get it back.
Wait 1 second.
Miss Judy?
Just 1 second. When you gave her the ring, what did you say to her?
I said, this is a promise that we would stay in this relationship.
You made her a promise?
Yes.
That's nice.
And she agreed to take it.
Mr. Ortega.
Yes.
Grow up, sir.
Okay.
You're dying to say something.
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
We made a promise that he would stop drinking, doing drugs, and I
accepted the gift if he would stop doing drugs and drinking. He did not. Accidentally, I don't know what happened to the gift. It got lost.
Not true. Listen to me. You were better off without opening your mouth. Okay. You were better off just standing there and looking gorgeous. Mr. Ortega.
Yes.
Get over it. Put a period. Move on.
Okay.
If you want a ring that comes back to you, you buy a diamond.
It was diamond.
Now, listen to me. No, not a butterfly. Diamond. Not a butterfly, Mr. Ortega. You buy a single diamond and you have it set in a very nice setting, and then you say, I want you to marry me.
I did.
Listen to me. I'm speaking.
At one point, though, I did.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
Will you marry me? This is an engagement ring.
We were
not
engaged.
A promise ring. I don't care if you were engaged or not. Listen, I've gotten engaged without a ring, too. Once or twice. Okay. A ring, the solitaire, Mr. Ortega, not a butterfly.
Actually, it was a princess cut.
Bye, Mr. Ortega.
He was using drugs.
I treated her well.
I have a 2-year-old son. I'm not going to deal with this.
Total lies. I totally respected her and her son.
Didn't want me to talk to my friends.
Not at all. I would let her go out and do her thing with her friends.
We used drugs. Did not remember anything he would tell me. He was always verbally abusive to me, and I'm not going to take that because I have a 2-year-old son, not from him. So, I mean, I'm not going to deal with that.
Plaintiff Donna Peterson is suing her grandson, 21-year-old freezer operator Justin Peterson, for an unpaid loan to pay off his legal bills. Justin says not only did he make payments to his grandmother, but he also did work for her.
Your Honor, this is case number 237 on the calendar in the matter of Peterson versus Peterson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
This is your grandma.
Yes.
Your grandma says that she made some loans to you while you were living with her.
Yes.
Over $3,000?
Yes.
And you say that there was never a loan, and if there was, you gave her some money in cash, and you bartered for some of it by taking care of her and doing her landscaping.
Yes.
When did you go and live with your grandmother?
It was back in February 2003.
Why?
Well, due to divorce situations with my parents, my dad needed a room so my sisters could live with him, and I had to go.
You weren't having trouble with your father, were you?
No.
So when you realized that you had to find another place to live, did you call your grandmother?
No.
Well, how did it come about that you went to live with her?
I went on my own, and I was in my car for a little bit.
You were in your car?
Yes.
Why were you in your car?
Because I didn't want to beg anyone. I didn't want to ask anyone to do anything.
How were you supporting yourself?
I was going store to store with getting pop cans.
Well, why weren't you working?
I was previously laid off from another job.
How long hadn't you worked?
Since October of '02.
Well, maybe that's why your father told you to get out.
No.
Your grandmother said yes. So your grandmother volunteered to take you in?
I had a cell phone that was about to expire and stuff. She called me on it and was wondering where I was. She didn't want me to... She was basically saying, I don't want you to live on the car. I thought you were going to come live with me. I was like, okay, I will.
Is that what happened?
No, I hadn't had any contact with Justin. Nobody had. And I was very worried about him. And he showed up on my doorstep. I just accepted that he would come and stay with me.
Now, tell me about these loans that you claim you made to your grandson.
Okay, he got a job through some friends of mine.
Great. Starting when?
I'm not positive.
February 5th.
Great.
03.
So practically right away.
Yes.
It was before I moved in.
Go ahead.
No, you already lived with me, Justin. Anyway, he owed quite a few bills. His car needed work. He was driving without a license, without insurance, and he was picked up once that I know of, and his car taken away, and I think they took him away too, and his father got him out. So I asked him to make a list of what he owed, and we worked out together what the loan would be. And I have a copy of the original check was $3,500.
May I see it, please? So he sat down and made a list of what all of his bills were.
Yes. And we supposedly paid off everything he owed.
So that was in July of 2003. You paid off all your debts.
Yeah, that I knew of.
Great. How much did you pay back?
I started paying small increments. Work was starting to get unstable. There was one time where I had a layoff period of 6 weeks.
And what did you do during that 6-week period?
I used unemployment, but it was very little, and I was barely holding on to keeping the insurance that I had.
How much rent were you paying to your grandmother?
$200 a month.
Is that right?
Yes, however, the first 3 months, I didn't ask him to pay anything so he could save money to get an apartment.
So how did you pay her back?
For those first 3 months, all the money that I couldn't save, I was putting towards what was being collected upon me from collection agencies, Verizon, and other companies. And I was basically being swallowed and just trying to keep up.
Well, that's why she gave you this $3,500
Yeah,
to
that came 3
consolidate
months
everything
later.
so you could pay it all off and then pay her back regularly in a smaller increment. How much did you pay her back?
Well, I've got records here of what I have paid her.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. This is when I recently got employed, and like agreements we made verbally that I would pay what I can when I could, and at least the minimum.
Well, you have down here $720.
Yes.
And I see that the payments didn't start here until May of 2004.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, that was when I moved to Umatilla for work.
But, Your Honor, also, I got one of the bills, the statements from the credit card company, and there was a $250...
What credit card company? You gave him a check.
Yes, I did, but it's from a Chase Manhattan Bank. It's from a credit card company.
I see. So they took this right off a credit card.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I got a $250 charge on the credit card, and he said that he had a bill that he had overlooked. I had given him a signed check from the credit card company because they send you blank checks.
So he said you would sign the check and gave it to him?
Yes, he did. And
did you?
No, I didn't.
You mean he told you that you would sign the blank check?
Yes. And anyway, I didn't argue with him because he's always right. So I called the credit company and asked them for a copy of the check because I knew I hadn't given him a check and signed it.
Can I see it, please?
It was a check that he had forged. And he had said, well...
Just a second. What do you have to say about that, Justin?
I'd gotten a notice from Verizon for my cell phone that had expired, and I had $350 still left in the bank, and I needed a little extra to do that. I called her on the phone. She was kind of slurring her words, which I figured she'd been drinking, and she said, okay.
So she is correct that you forged her name to the check.
I signed it, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Her grandson, Justin Peterson, owes for a loan to pay his bills. Justin says his grandmother is a drinker.
You forged her name to the check.
Yes, I signed it.
She didn't turn you in, did she?
No.
When did you tell your grandmother exactly how much you wrote out this check for?
Afterwards, she confronted me about it later. I figured she already knew because I'd called her. And
when did you leave your grandmother's house?
Late January, early February of 2004.
Tell me about that.
She was in Palm Springs, and we were having troubles. Every time I'd come home, it was Justin, 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 and I'm just trying to get by.
Justin, 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 what?
She would confront me about, you need to do more, you need to do more, you need to pay more, and it's like, I'm trying. And what we agreed upon was making at least the minimum as long as there wasn't a negative mark.
Well, you hadn't paid anything, Justin. You showed me what you paid. You hadn't been paying anything. Not a minimum, not anything, for months.
I had also done work for her, which she agreed upon.
So tell me about that, Justin.
Well, she was complaining about the lawn. I offered, Grandma, since I'm not able to get you as much, I could do the lawn for you. I could have it done in one day.
Try not to look at the walls, Justin. Try to look at me when you're testifying.
I'm just recalling, Your Honor.
Well, try to recall while you're looking at me.
Okay. Well, I was trying to find ways.
No, you're right. Are you cross-eyed?
No.
Then look at me.
I was trying to get the balance covered and stuff, and I knew I was getting close to missing more. And I went to
right here,
I
Justin.
went to a friend. I was just overlooking this.
You don't have to look at anything. Tell the truth. You should be able to remember it.
I am.
Okay.
I went and purchased a bunch of sod. My buddy had come over too, Chris.
What month was this in, Justin?
I don't remember the exact month.
Well, I
it was
would
like
you
July
to...
or August.
Of what year?
Of 03.
I want you to think about whether it was July or August of 03.
I just remember it was a really hot day.
And what you're telling me, Justin, is you had fallen behind in the payments.
I was coming close to, yes.
But previous to that you had made the payments?
Yes.
How many payments had you made previous to that?
Well, I'd given her bigger amounts of money, like 200, 250. One time she wrote, well, I gave her the checks. And
So that was before you were doing the landscaping?
Yes.
All right, now let me explain something to you, Justin, my dear. According to what you just said to me, and I want to make sure that I'm getting this right, Officer Byrd, Justin says that he did some work for his grandmother in order to pay off his debt to her. Some landscaping work in July or August of 2003. He said that previous to that he had been up to date in his payments. That's what you said.
Yes.
That's what he said. My problem with that, Officer Byrd, could you just take a look at this check and tell me the date of the check of his grandmother's for $3,500?
7/10/2003.
So what you're telling me, Justin, is before your grandmother gave you this check for $3,500 in mid-July of 2003, you started paying the credit card company back? Is that what you're telling me?
I made a plural mistake, yes.
You made a big mistake! Because you may be trying to get over on me that something's wrong with your grandmother's mind, but I got news for you. Nothing is wrong with mine. And certainly nothing is wrong with Officer Petrie Hawkins Byrd. So when somebody lends you money and someone extends themselves, puts money on a credit card so that you can have a clean slate, because that's what your grandmother did, you don't turn around and kick them in the behind by standing there and telling a whole bunch of lies. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,200. That's all. Get out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm not mad at my grandson. I'm hoping this will help him to mature and be responsible for himself.
I tried being good with my grandma. I did have problems.
The world doesn't owe you a living. You've got to pay your way.
Trying to look like a saint who got screwed.
I hope that it helps him to mature and be responsible for himself.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Donor versus Spexer. Step forward, please.
Office manager Denise Donor is suing her former friend, bartender Shelley Fexer, for unpaid loans to pay her bills. Shelley is countersuing, claiming Denise stole her belongings.
Ms. Donor, the defendant was a former friend of yours. And
yes, she was.
You lived together for a while.
No, I lived with her mother. She did not live at the house.
You lived at her mother's house?
Correct.
She didn't live there ever?
No, she lived with her boyfriend.
According to your complaint, you made a loan to her.
Correct.
And she did not pay you back.
Correct.
Ms. Fexer, according to your answer, there was never a loan. The plaintiff paid some bills for you because she was a friend and you had fallen on hard times. And you claim that she took some of your property when she moved out of your mother's house.
Right.
And you are counterclaiming for several $1,000s. Ms. Donor says that the only thing she took was that piece of luggage, I assume. She's more than willing to give that back to you. When was this loan made, Ms. Donor?
It started in August of 2002 up until June of 2003.
Okay, let's start with the first loan. What amount and what for?
When I moved out there in the house with her mom, she asked me if I could...
Were you paying her mother rent?
Yes, I was. She asked me if I could help her out by paying some credit card bills because she didn't have any money. She wasn't working a steady job. She's a bartender, and it wasn't real steady for her.
How long do you know her?
A little over a year.
So you were good enough friends for her to come and ask you for money?
Yes.
And you felt close enough to her to give her the money?
Yes, I did.
How much did you give her in August of 2002?
August, it was only $200, ma'am. She flew to Chicago to help me pack my house out of Chicago.
So then why should she owe you $200?
She agreed to pay for her flight. I paid for everything else on the drive back, the gas, the food, the hotels.
Really? So let's start with that one.
I tried to pay for my own ticket to help her move, which is a little ridiculous.
Well, that sounds ridiculous to me.
It really is. And she obviously charged me for it later.
No, it's ridiculous to me. That doesn't sound normal. If somebody's coming to help you pack and help you drive back, they don't pay for their own ticket. What's next?
Payments I made to her credit card companies on her behalf at her request.
When?
In September, October, November, December, January, February, April, and then June.
And what was the total amount of those?
A little over $2,200 and something.
You made those payments directly to the credit card?
Directly to the credit card company.
Tell me why.
Because she agreed to pay me back once she got a regular job again.
Well, when did you go back to work?
I was out of work about 3 months.
When did she go back to work?
about 3 or 4 months later at the Home Depot.
So did she go back to work in December?
She was working in December, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, was she working in November?
No.
Okay, so she went back to work in December. When was the last time you paid her credit card?
In May of 2003.
How much did she pay you between December 2002 and May of 2003?
$170.
Well, why is it, madam, that you continue to make payments for her when she was working in Home Depot in December? Your agreement was that she would pay you back when she got a steady job. She got a steady job, and you continued to pay her credit cards. Why, Miss Donor?
Because she was not making enough money to afford her bills at the house as well as her own credit cards.
Well, but I don't understand. What kind of relationship did you enjoy with this defendant that would suggest to me that it's logical that you should pay her bills?
We were very close friends. She was like a sister to me. I would do practically anything for her that she asked me.
Well, then what happened, Miss Donor?
Well, we used to do a lot of drugs, and when I quit using, that's when our friendship basically dissolved, and I decided to move down a different road than she did. The rest of them, when we would be out, if she asked me, we'd be at the Target or something, she'd ask me for like some personal hygiene products or some
not interested
stuff for that.
That's not what courts are set up to do. I'm not going through a laundry list of feminine products.
Right, exactly. I understand.
You understand that, Miss Donor. You have receipts that you paid $2,200 and some odd dollars in credit card bills.
Correct. I have the canceled checks.
For the defendant, and she doesn't deny that. Is that right?
That's true, yes.
Okay. And you paid her back, according to you, $500.
Yes. I was making payments to her right before she moved out of my mother's house. I had a good job, was making payments, because she said, don't worry about the payments. Whenever you get it, give it to me.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Okay,
she's lying.
shh. Now.
My apologies.
Now. Fine. So she said, whenever you have it, you'll give it to me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and you said?
And I did give it to her whenever I had it. I paid her a couple payments, and she said, do you want a receipt? And I said, no, I didn't need a receipt. We were friends.
How much did you give her?
A total of $500.
Show me.
I can't. I marked it on my calendar, just that I paid her.
Let me see the calendar.
Okay.
And make sure it's a calendar that I'm not going to find suspect.
I gave her receipts for every time she gave me cash, Your Honor.
No, you did not.
Shh, don't fight with each other. I don't understand what figures are you telling me I should be looking for here?
Just June and July in the red. Says
June
paid.
and July is a couple of dollars. $40, $20,
Right.
$20, $50,
Right.
maybe $200.
Right, correct.
Where's the $500?
Well, that's like $200, and I gave her $2 more.
Well, show me where.
Well, I don't have the counter. She has it.
She says you gave her $179. So you giving me a calendar, you say you gave her $200. Okay, that's $2,000 left. What happened to the rest of the money?
Well, I was paying her, and also when I first met her, she didn't want me to go back to work after the first bar I worked at closed. She said, just be my personal assistant and I'll pay you, And we traded. I drove her around. I introduced everybody I know, did things for her. Whatever she asked, I do. But I still was paying her back the money when I had it. I guess in June or July, we went to Austin, Texas together for my mother's birthday. And she charged me for the ticket, which she did not pay for. I don't owe her all this money. And then that's when we probably had our falling out. She just acted weird. I think she wanted a different relationship than I was willing to give.
You owe her $2,000. Now let me hear about your counterclaim, madam.
When she moved out of my mom's house, my mother was asleep, and I wasn't there.
Your mother helped me move out.
I don't want you to speak.
Okay.
Until I look in your direction or ask you a question.
Okay.
And she had two friends come help her, and she didn't call.
Were you there?
No.
Well, then how are you telling me this?
Well, because the girl that helped her actually told me some things.
That's hearsay.
Right. Well, the things that were missing when she left the house that weren't hers.
Doesn't tell me anything.
That weren't hers. They weren't her
Doesn't tell
items.
me anything.
Right. She went through all my pictures, rearranged them all for me. These are all missing. Pictures when I didn't even know her.
You have to have proof, madam.
Right. And you know what? She's taken any proof that I have. She's taken the pictures.
I can't help you. I can't help you. Give her back her suitcase, please.
Okay.
Yeah, it's her suitcase.
Yes, it
This
is.
donor said that that's your suitcase. Is this your suitcase?
Right, and
Ms.
I do have
Blexer?
receipts from that one. That's the only thing I have receipts from, because she took all the receipts when she took the items, if I had any. I know I can't prove it.
So if you can't prove it, then don't waste my time with it. There's your suitcase. It's a very nice piece of luggage. You owe the plaintiff $2,000. Pay her. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. Step out.
I think that she's in love with me.
My boyfriend would be shocked to understand that I had, quote unquote, supposedly likings for her.
Just a few of her actions, you know, she was a little too friendly.
She doesn't know the truth if it would come up and bite her in the butt.
She'd do anything to make herself look good.
Crystal meth makes you do stupid things, and as you can see, the defendant is still using.
I think she got obsessive.
Shelley's a drug addict. She has been, and she always will be.
Bill collector Carol Pratt is suing her former live-in boyfriend, staffing agent James Moulton, for unpaid rent, a broken video camera, and the return of a snake.
Yeah, this is case number 308 on the calendar in the matter of Pratt versus Moulton. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Pratt, how many kids do you have?
Total of 3.
How many live with you?
2.
How old are they?
14 and 9.
This is the 14-year-old?
Yes, ma'am.
What's his name?
Michael Edward.
And how old is the third child?
9. Oh, the oldest one is 21.
So she's out of the home?
He's
out of the home?
Yes.
How long did you know Mr. Moulton before he moved in with you and your 2 children?
About a month.
And why did he move in with you?
He wasn't able to pay his rent, and we wanted to join finances so we can both afford to live in my house that I own.
When he came to live with you, did he come to live with you as a boyfriend?
At first, yes.
What do you mean at first? So were you sharing a room with him?
Yes.
So you knew him 1 month before he moved in?
Yes, ma'am.
And did he have any children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
2.
Who did they live with?
Us.
So you moved in together, blended your families after knowing each other for a month. You now have 4 children living in the house. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And the 2 of you. And when was it that he moved in?
About a month after we met each other.
Give me the month.
That would have been in November.
Of 2003?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did he stay in your home?
Until the end of February of 2004.
And at that point you say he left owing you rent?
Yes, ma'am.
That he took some property that didn't belong to him when he left? And he also took your son's snake and mice, and you want them back?
Yes.
And broke camera?
Yes.
Whole bunch of stuff. Okay. He left in February of 2004?
Yes.
Tell me why he moved out in February.
We weren't getting along.
Just that. You just weren't getting along. There were no major battles in February.
Yes, there were. There was a lot of battles.
What happened in February, sir?
Well, yeah, it was prior to that. It was more like after Christmas. I received custody of my children from domestic violence. When I brought them into her home, her children were very violent to her and to me and to my kids. And as a father, I cannot put my kids in that situation. That is why I left.
Okay, fine.
There was no agreement when I moved in about paying rent.
No, I didn't ask you anything else.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not your case yet, sir. It will get there. Because, Mr. Moulton, you're not going to tell me that a man who has custody of his 2 children moves in with a lady who has custody of her 2 children and expects somebody else to take care of him and his responsibility. Now, I don't want you to even answer that question, sir, until you think about it a minute.
I don't need to think about it. The answer is absolutely not.
Good. So I just want to make sure that that was not your agreement. I don't speak of an opportunity. Now, so he left in February. Now, he moved in November.
Yes, ma'am.
And prior to his moving in, did you have an agreement with regard to the household expenses?
He told me that he would pay half of everything, and that he would never treat me the way my exes treated me, and that he would be responsible and take care of his obligations.
Good. So he made some sort of general statement that he would take care of his obligations. So how much money did he contribute to the household in November?
He only helped with food.
When you say he helped with food, what do you mean he helped?
He paid for half of it, and I paid for half of it.
Okay. And did you have a discussion with him in November that this wasn't what you had agreed to?
More or less in December. He did originally have a job when he started. The first week he lost his car because it broke down, then he lost his job because of it. I even gave him my car, and he would drop us off at daycare and work, and he would try to look for a job, but he didn't have money for gas, so I had to put all the gas in the car also, besides paying for the insurance and for the $315 that I pay monthly on my
Okay, it's just a second. So he lost his job. You lost your job, is that right?
I was laid off prior to moving in.
Fine. When did you get a job?
January, I believe it was, delivering flowers, and I was using my car because I had bought a car.
When did you buy a car?
In January.
With what?
I received unemployment and child support from my wife, which is what I paid for it.
How much money did you receive in child support?
I received $300 a month from my 2 children.
And how much did you receive from unemployment?
$125 a week.
So about $800 a month.
That's correct.
And you were receiving $800 a month starting in November.
Absolutely.
And how much did you spend on your living?
I contributed most of my money to her in the household.
How much each month?
I probably kept $50 a week for myself and bought a case of diapers for my daughter.
Yes.
And I paid for all the food.
How did you then buy the car?
Money from my wife. Other money. I had this money. I saved some money. I had money before I moved in with her.
How much money did you have?
The car was $99 down.
How much money did you have?
A few $100.
You're talking fast, sir.
A few $100.
When he wasn't giving you money towards the mortgage and he wasn't giving you any money towards the rest of the household expenses but paying for half the food, did you have discussions with him periodically about money?
Yes, we did, and he kept telling me that to leave it go, that he would take care of it, just quit bringing it up, but he knows he owes it.
Okay. Now, when he left in February, what kind of a discussion did you have with him about the expenses and the money he owed you?
He agreed on $500 a month, and I told him, what about the phone bill, because he was calling his ex-wife on long-distance charges that I wasn't supposed to pay for.
Just a second. So he agreed to give you $500 a month
yes, ma'am.
For the 3 months that he lived there?
$500 a month, yes.
But he did not give you the $500
no, he did
a month.
not.
And this is after he already moved out?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound familiar, Mr. Moulton?
No, ma'am. I had no agreement with her. When I told her I was leaving because I did not want my children in the violent atmosphere
I understand that.
longer.
She says that after you left, you had a discussion with her because she racked up large phone bills talking to your ex-wife and a lot of other expenses, and she says you agreed to give her $500 a month for the time that you were there with your children, and that you would pay for it out of your tax returns, but then you didn't get your tax returns right away.
It's not true. I agreed. I told her I paid her what I paid her, and that was it. There would be no more money given to her.
All right,
I fulfilled my obligations to her. My priority was to get my children out of that violent situation.
I heard what you said about your priority. I heard. Now, what items did he take from the house that you say didn't belong to him?
Whenever he moved in, he threw out my bike, which meant a lot to me. I had it since I was
He threw out when he moved in?
An antique bike.
You said when he moved in, he threw out your bike?
Yeah, when he moved in, he started going through all my stuff, throwing out everything that he thought I didn't need and I didn't use. So he threw out my furniture. He threw out some of my items.
You should have thrown him out if you didn't want him to do it.
She asked me to help her organize her house.
Just a second. Do I look like I need help?
No, ma'am.
If you didn't want him to throw away these things, Miss Pratt, and he was throwing them away when he moved in, you should have thrown them out. You didn't do that. Now you don't come and sue him.
He had two small children.
Do you understand? You don't come and sue him after the fact.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Carol Pratt says former live-in boyfriend James Moulton owes for rent, a broken video camera, and the return of a snake. James says he moved out because Carol's children are violent.
Let's get to the snake, because I see we don't have anything.
Well, after he moved out and that my son was giving me a hard time, so I grounded him from the snake for a week, and I asked him to hold on to the snake and to the mice and the cages, and I gave him food and the bedding for them, and I said it will be a week. When I went back to get it a week later, he told me it either died or he froze, and he gave me different excuses every time I seen him.
What happened to the snake?
She asked me to take the snake. I took the snake and the mice to my house. The snake got away out the back door. I had the mouse. It wasn't or will you watch this or will you babysit this snake until my son gets out of boot camp? It was, do you want the snake? Yes, I do. She put it in my car. I took it home. Months later, she wants the snake back. It's gone.
How long did you have it?
4 months.
You had it for 4 months?
I begged for 4 months to get it back.
Okay, next.
Well, when we were living together, he was drinking too much. That's why my son was getting upset. My children had a hard time with him because of the type of friends he was hanging out with. He was bringing...
Just tell me, I'm not interested. Listen, you want to go on, you go on Dr. Phil if you want to talk about your problems. I don't want to talk about your problems. I want you to tell me, this is a court. What does he owe you?
$1,650.
For what?
For living expenses, for the utilities, the phone bill that was over, for gas, for using my vehicle when he used it for the months that he didn't have a car.
Stop being a baby.
Your Honor.
Stop being a baby. The relationship didn't work out. He's not going to pay you for putting gas in the car. I believe that you had an agreement that he would pay for half of the expenses. Here you are living, your 2 children, his 2 children, and he can't live rent-free. He can't live utility-free. And he receives, in addition to that, he receives child support and unemployment insurance. So he receives $800 a month.
And I didn't know about the unemployment.
Well, he received, according to him, $800 a month. And if what you believe and what he agreed to pay was $500 a month, that's perfectly reasonable, leaving him $300 a month for extra expenses, and that's without a job. And certainly if you got a job in January, sir, delivering flowers, you could have gotten a job Christmas time delivering flowers too. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Jealousy?
Jealousy? No.
She's jealous that I'm with another woman and won't be with her.
There's no jealousy. Sorry, Jim.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Neil versus Nalario. Step forward, please.
21-year-old student Lisa Neal is suing her ex-roommate, 21-year-old student Silda Nalario, for breaking a lease. Silda says she moved out because Lisa watched her have a drug-induced seizure and did nothing.
Miss Neal, you and the defendant were friends,
Yes,
and at
ma'am.
some point you leased an apartment together. Miss Nalario moved out of the apartment, and your lawsuit seeks her share of the rent for the duration of the lease. Ms. Nalario is going to explain to me why she believes that your conduct gave her license to move out and why she should not be responsible for the lease. When did you move in together?
We moved in August of 2003.
And how long was the lease?
It was a 12-month lease.
And when did she move out?
She left December 03.
And did she pay December's rent?
Yes, she did.
From December 2003 until August of 2004, who lived in the apartment?
Well, I lived alone until the last month of my lease. I actually found someone to move in with me for July.
Who was
It
that?
was up until June. It was this girl, Jessica, that she just answered an ad.
So it was 6 months that you didn't have a roommate.
Right.
Did you make efforts to locate a roommate?
Yes, I did. I posted flyers and I ran an ad in our school paper, which I have receipts for. I was running it for months on end, but it was a strange time. You know, in the semester, it was in the middle of the semester. Everyone who has a place to live, you know, already has a place to live.
Okay, and what was the entire rent?
The entire rent was $700 a month.
All right, Mr. Lario, now you're going to explain to me why you should not be responsible for the lease.
Okay, we both went camping, and we both ate...
When?
We went camping December 12th, 13th, and 14th. We both ate mushrooms. She wanted to get mushrooms for her birthday. I wanted to get mushrooms for...
You're talking about drugs?
Hallucinogenic mushrooms, yes, ma'am.
So you consumed these drugs?
Yes.
Is it the first time you had done so?
No.
Go ahead, and then?
I came home and I was not eating or sleeping. And my boyfriend at the time was helping take care of me. When he went to work, she would watch me. And I had a seizure, and she did not call the police or call my mother. In fact, she told my boyfriend at the time that she would not tell my mother about the seizure if he would not tell. And I have on many occasions when she's been drunk, I have taken care of her, made sure that men did not take advantage of her, and I have made sure that she did not choke on her puke and whatever else. And I just felt that she was not my friend. And okay, so my mother came up and took me to the hospital.
Anything you want to say?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm here to listen to you.
My daughter had a psychotic episode.
Absolutely right.
Yes.
You know why she had a psychotic episode?
Yes, because she consumed mushrooms.
Right.
She made a mistake.
Right.
She realizes that.
So? What does that have to do with this rent?
She was not able to function for like 6 or 7 months after this happened.
Whose fault is that?
It's her fault. She realized.
It's her fault.
Yes, that's correct.
It's her fault. It's not her fault.
Correct.
So why shouldn't she pay her half of the rent? Why should she get stuck with her half of the rent?
Perhaps if Lisa had been a little bit more responsible and when she had her seizure that she could have died. Thank God she didn't.
She didn't die.
No. But Lisa was with her. If she had just pushed 911 on the phone.
How would that have changed the psychotic episode?
Perhaps she would have gotten to care quicker and would not have been in the hospital and requiring so much help as long as she did.
If my father had been taller and my mother would have been statuesque, I would have been 5'7". Your daughter voluntarily went to a place, purchased drugs, not for the first time, took the drugs, and had a bad reaction. And I hear a lot of blaming of other people, but I don't hear her saying it's my responsibility that I got sick because I shouldn't have taken the drugs.
That's correct, Your Honor. But when I found out that she couldn't go back to school, I went up there, I emptied out her room so that Lisa could get a roommate.
Well, it's her responsibility to find her a roommate,
she
not
was not
hers.
Competent.
She's your daughter. It's not her responsibility. She's tried to get a roommate. She can't just say I'm absolving myself of liability because she didn't take care of me the way I think a friend should.
Correct.
This is a business arrangement. business. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. That's all.
All these are accused. You may step out.
I hope that people learn a lesson from this. Hallucinogenic mushrooms is not something to play with.
I didn't feed her drugs. It's really no reason to come out of my pocket.
To be honest, I was just trying to have fun when I went camping. That's just being honest.
We were all just camping, you know, we're out in the middle of nowhere just having fun.
Apparently I was fooled. She was not really my friend.
She wasn't coherent. She was not making any sense when she spoke about things. She couldn't read. She couldn't really tell time.
It sent me back mentally for a long time.
She was in a psychiatric ward for almost 3 weeks.
Don't do drugs.
Amy Jimenez is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old customer service rep Ronnie Brooks, for damages due to an assault. Amy claims Ronnie kicked her car and then broke her cell phone when she tried to call 911.
Hello. It's hard to train them. Your Honor, this is case number 457 in the matter of Jimenez versus Brooks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
My money's on you.
Okay.
Ms. Jimenez, this used to be your boyfriend. You claim he has a bad temper, and while you were in the midst of an argument, he kicked your car and then body slammed you on your car, causing damage to your car.
Yeah.
Now you're suing him for damage to the car, but not damage necessarily to your body, which causes me some pause, because to me, if somebody took me and threw me against a car, I would sue him for hurting me, but I guess your car is important. And also, you say in another fit of rage, he broke your cell phone.
Yeah.
Mr. Brooks says, well, he did in fact break the cell phone.
Yes, ma'am.
But he says with regard to the car, you were trying to run him down, and he merely tried to protect himself by trying to hold back 3,000 pounds with his foot. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did this incident happen with your car, Miss Jimenez?
October 7th.
Where were you?
We were at my house.
How long had you been at your house?
About 3 minutes. We'd gotten into an argument right as we pulled up.
He was in your car?
He'd gotten out of the car and I was still in the car. And we'd gotten into an argument and I didn't want to get out of the car. I didn't want him to go into my house. So I told him I was going to take him home.
He was coming to your house for what?
To take a shower.
Why? He doesn't have a shower?
His shower didn't have a shower curtain, and I guess he liked my shower better.
His shower didn't have a shower curtain?
Yeah.
How do you do that, sir?
Oh, we just took baths.
You just took baths in your house?
Yeah.
Why don't you buy a shower curtain?
Lazy, I guess.
How long have you lived in this house without a shower curtain?
It was like 2 months.
2 months without a shower curtain?
Yes, ma'am.
Who lives there?
Well, it was just me and my brother at the time.
Did you used to live with your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And your father?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they have a shower curtain?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So he was coming to your house to take a shower because he got tired of taking baths at his house.
Yeah.
He probably got tired because if he didn't have a shower curtain and only took baths, I guarantee you that he didn't clean the bathtub.
That's not true.
That is true.
She's lying.
No. Anybody that doesn't have time to buy a shower curtain doesn't have time to rub-a-dub-dub scrubbing out the bathtub. Anyway, okay. So you picked him up to take him to your house to take a shower. You got into an argument in the car. He got out of the car. You didn't want to get out of the car. You wanted to drive him home.
Yeah. Somehow my roommate got involved into this argument. And he went up to the house to confront my roommate. And he assaulted my roommate. And then after that, he came back out, assaulted me, and then...
Well, tell me how he assaulted you.
He pushed me to the ground and kicked me in the leg.
What was the fight about?
That he used me.
Used you?
Yeah.
Used you for what?
Well, he didn't have a car, you know, he didn't have very much money, and I was pretty much there for him.
Okay. So he threw you down on the ground and he kicked you twice. Go ahead.
He continued to follow me around, so I went and got in my car, and he continued to yell at me while I was in my car, and then he started...
What was he yelling?
I wasn't paying attention. I was too disturbed by what he'd just done to me. And so I just sat in my car, and he kicked the hood, and then he kicked the side panel twice. And I have pictures here of the damages that he did.
That's not true, Your Honor. This didn't happen at her house. This happened at my house.
That's not true. She was telling the truth. She picked you up from your house without a shower curtain and took you to her house that did have a shower curtain to take a shower.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go into the house and take a shower?
No, I had gotten into a fight with her roommate.
Okay, about what?
Because he said that I was using her, so I went up to the door and I asked him if he said something, and he said he did. So he was walking away, and I kept following him, and then I hit him.
You hit him?
Yeah.
What are you, nuts?
No, ma'am.
Where did you hit him?
Well, I didn't really hit him. I kind of put, he was,
He hit him
as
in
he
the head.
was, shh, she's lying.
No, look, just a minute. You just said you hit him.
Well, I pushed him in the back of his head as he was walking away, you know, kind of like that.
Not true.
Yeah, it is. And after that, we went into the backyard. We argued for a minute.
Who argued?
Me and him.
Well, I certainly would argue with you. I'd probably call the police. And then you got back into the car?
And she took me home.
So what happened when you got home?
Well, we got home. We were going to go out that night. I said I didn't want to go to the club. She wanted to go, so she got mad. She was in her brother's car at the time. She thought I stole her keys. She kept coming over there after she went home from the club. My witness is right here. Okay, she was cussing, just ran into my house, didn't knock or anything, just walked in. We're in there chilling, you know. She said, where are my keys, where are my keys? I said, I don't have your keys. She leaves and comes back, leaves and comes back. She does this like 3 times, okay? Finally, she comes back with her car. And she said, where's my keys, where are my keys? She's drunk, by the way. I said, dude, you're stupid. If I have your keys, how are you in your car? Okay, so I had
That's
to...
right. He said, dude, you're stupid. Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said. So I had to physically take her out of my house to put her in the car. Okay, as I did that, she was backing up. She backed up like this, and then she went forward like she was going to hit me. And I kicked the car. I did kick the car, but she was trying to hit me.
But she wasn't in the car when she did that.
Yeah,
That was my brother's car. That was not my car.
I had put her in the car.
You would put her in the car?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brooks, how long was Miss Jimenez your girlfriend?
2.5, 3 months, maybe.
Did you like her?
Yeah.
Why would you put her in her car if she was drunk?
Because she wouldn't get out of my house.
Weren't you concerned that maybe she would hurt herself driving around drunk in the car?
Yes, ma'am, but she does that all the time anyway. She always drives around drunk. Every time we go to the club, we're both drunk and she drives.
That makes you dumb and dumber. If you get into the car with somebody who's driving while they're intoxicated, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why are you so stupid?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I mean, we both drive drunk. I mean, I know how to drive when I'm drunk. I don't know.
You don't have any children or anything, do you?
Well, I do have a daughter.
Oh, I was going to suggest you not do that. Now, you want to talk to me?
Okay.
Tell me your name.
My name is Derek.
Derek, you have a last name.
Villanueva.
Villanueva.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I pronounce that well?
That's fine.
So if I wasn't so good at pronouncing your last name, we'll just call you Derek.
That's fine.
Derek, were you a witness to this incident that happened on October the 7th?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me where you were, Derek.
I was in Ronnie's house, sitting on the couch, playing the PlayStation.
Everybody's got a PlayStation. PlayStation he has, shower curtain he doesn't have.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says her ex-boyfriend, Ronnie Brooks, owes for kicking a dent into her car and for breaking her cell phone. Ronnie says Amy was drunk on the night in question.
Go ahead.
Well, first I heard a noise to the left, and it was a foot coming through the door. That would be her foot. So Ronnie took her to the car. Well, like he said, she tried to run over him whenever she backed up and then came forward, and that's what I had seen. I also saw them yelling at each other, but I didn't see him hit her.
He didn't hit her.
No, ma'am.
Because I read her complaint, and her complaint doesn't say he hit her.
That was because his friends were around that time.
Well, I mean,
his friends weren't around him when you filled out this complaint, madam.
Ma'am, she was also drunk, so, I mean, she doesn't even remember me.
Oh, you kicked her car.
I kicked it, yeah, but she tried to run me over.
Yeah, but you kicked it on the side.
He also slammed me on the hood several times.
I made one dent on that car. He did only kick it once. I only kicked it one time.
You kicked it once?
One time.
Very good. Because these pictures were taken 2.5 months later, right?
They were. My father took those pictures because I did not have a camera at the time.
Well, that's too bad. 2.5, almost 3 months later, you don't bring pictures in of a car.
Your Honor, I filed the police report later on, like a month later. I was terrified of
A month later?
He promised me he was going to fix my car, and I was waiting for him to fix it. I went over to his house several times.
Just a second, Mr. Brooks.
Yes, ma'am.
I tend to believe the fact that you kicked her car, and I tend to believe the fact that she was drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe you, because otherwise she would have filed this police report the next day if it happened the way she said it happened. She waited a month, something happened, and I don't know, we even know whether you saw each other socially during that month. Did you or did you not?
Yes, ma'am. About 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, we did.
Where did you go 2 or 3 weeks afterwards?
She always went to my house after that happened.
I have to go to his house because he doesn't have a car.
You mean after this happened, you went to his house?
His roommate lived with him, and I knew if there's other people around, he wouldn't.
Just a second. I don't care whether his roommate was there or not. You're making this up as you're going along, Miss Jimenez.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, because if you're terrified of somebody, you don't go to their house. That's not what happens. You stay away from them, whether their roommate is there or not.
I was trying to get my car fixed, Your Honor.
Oh, please, give me a break, will you please? Tell me about how you broke her cell phone, sir.
Well, that was at her house whenever I had just got through getting to that confrontation with her roommate. She didn't want to take me home at first, and my clothes were in her car, so I just told her to open her car, and I would walk home. Okay, she didn't want to, so I just grabbed her cell phone and threw it across the parking lot.
And how much did you pay for your cell phone?
She didn't. She got another one free.
Did you get another one free?
Yes. That's what you told me last week.
My friend bought me another cell phone because I couldn't afford to get another cell phone.
Okay. Now, how much do you think it's going to cost to pull out the dents in this car?
For the particular part that I kicked, $400, because she had showed me the estimate. She went to my house and showed me, and I said I'd pay for that.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $480. $400 for the kick to the car and $80 for the cell phone. Stay away from each other. Stay away from him.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And by the way, one more thing. The entire world knows that the two of you now drive drunk. So if you get behind the wheel of a car and kill somebody, it's not an accident anymore. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand me? Perfect.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My roommate told me that he thought Ronnie was using me.
He didn't have a job, and she was taking him everywhere, and I told her that he was the one that was using her.
Ronnie did use me. He's scum. He's very violent.
No more. That's over.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fitzgerald versus Whitney. Step forward, please.
23-year-old homemaker Kimberly Fitzgerald is suing her deceased father's fiancée, Leslie Whitney, for the return of her father's belongings. Kimberly says Leslie is a scammer.
Miss Fitzgerald, Miss Whitney and your father were together at the time that he died, and he died suddenly. He was a young man. He had a heart attack. And you want some property that you say belonged to your father. You're one of 2 children. You say your brother doesn't want anything of your father's. You do. He died without a will. And according to you, Miss Whitney won't let you have his belongings. Right?
Yep.
When did your father have a heart attack? Do you know the date?
September 9th, 2004.
And prior to September 9th, when had you seen him?
I saw him about 3 days earlier.
Where?
He stopped by my house to see my son. Well, and me.
Prior to September the 6th, when your father came to see your son, when had you previously seen him?
The 4th of July.
How old was your father?
57.
Miss Whitney, how long had you and Vincent been together?
Over a year we were together, but we did not live together until June of last year.
He had another girlfriend in March.
Shh. You moved into his house?
Yes.
Where was he when he passed away?
He was on the road. He was a truck driver.
According to what I read, Vincent took out a life insurance policy with you as the beneficiary. Is that right? When did he do that?
In August.
Were you planning to get married?
Yes, we were going to be married September 17th, a week after he unfortunately passed away.
People invited to the wedding?
Yes.
Including his daughter?
No.
Why not?
He said that he didn't want, there wasn't a close-knit family. That's what he had told me. I had never met her. And he offered to, when he wanted to go see his grandchild and stuff, but it was like an in-and-out thing. He never really talked about his children.
How much was the life insurance policy that he took out in August?
$20,000.
But he named you as the beneficiary?
Yes.
Is there any other life insurance policy for any of his children?
No, there was not.
Did he have any bank accounts?
Yes, he did, but one was overdrawn, and the other one only had about $50 in it.
Now, I gather the day after your father died, you and your mother went to his apartment.
Yes. I didn't even know about her.
And how did you get into his apartment?
I was sitting outside. I didn't go into the apartment until Leslie came home.
How did your mother get into the apartment?
I don't know.
How did they get into the apartment?
They climbed through the kitchen window. It was a basement apartment. The windows were level with the ground. And I was on my way back from the hospital, and I came home, and she was outside with the baby, and the mother was in the bedroom.
What was your mother doing there?
She told me to wait outside. We had gone to my father's house to get his suit so that he could be buried. We were making preparations for his wake. And there was other paperwork and stuff that I needed since I am the administrator of my father's estate. I needed to get paperwork to straighten
Well, you
things
weren't
out.
the administrator of his estate at that time because he died without a will.
No, at that time I was not.
So you had to petition the court for letters of administration.
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Now, according to Miss Whitney, she ultimately allowed you to come in and take certain property from the apartment.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're going to tell me what it is that you want.
We just want...
Who's we?
Well, okay, I just want the value of the property that was missing that Leslie told me I could have.
What do you want? Not the value. What do you want?
The kitchen table, the computer, the camera with the printer.
Kitchen table?
No, there's no kitchen table.
No kitchen. There's no kitchen table.
I moved
What else?
into the house myself.
What year?
Beginning of 2000, end of 2003.
Get over it. What else?
The computer. There was a brand new computer.
Where's the computer?
There was no computer. There was no computer. There's no kitchen table.
Okay. You have no idea where the computer is?
No, I don't.
What's next?
The digital camera.
Digital camera.
No, I don't. He had that. He used to carry that with him in his truck. And I didn't
What's
go
next?
to the truck.
The printer that went with the digital camera.
Miss Fitzgerald, get over it. From what I gather, based upon the fact that your father had taken out a life insurance policy and instead of naming his 2 children as beneficiaries, he named this lady as a beneficiary of his insurance policy, you did not enjoy with your father the kind of relationship that was warm, continuous, and loving. Is that a fair statement? Realized that she was living there and that they were living together. They planned to be married. They clearly were in a monogamous, intimate relationship because the life insurance policy was taken out in August. You got a lot of your father's property. Nothing there, as far as I'm concerned, are memento things that you're asking for. You don't want to hang the kitchen table on your charm bracelet or the camcorder or anything else.
No, but there was family pictures.
If you said to me he had a watch that I would like to be able to give to my child one day because we were very close, or he had a ring that was a family heirloom or something that was very close to him, you want a kitchen table, a computer, a camera, and a printer.
And pictures.
Should have taken pictures. What pictures?
I didn't have access to them.
You went into the house 3 times. You didn't even mention the pictures, Miss Fitzgerald, when you said you wanted the value of these things or the things. You didn't even mention pictures. I think you have to have something to occupy your time more than what you have. Because this is nonsense. Get over it. Get a life.
The decency to
That's
show up
all.
at his funeral.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They were not a close-knit family. I never met his daughter because he wasn't even associating with his daughter.
If all she wanted was his money, she got it.
I was going to marry him. It's not just her lot. She's making it all about her. That's not the case.
She says they were going to get married. I have no proof of that.
She's jealous that I'm getting a life insurance policy and she's not.
She doesn't have the decency to show up at his funeral or his wake or anything.
I was not invited to the funeral, by the way. They kept that hidden secret.
She walks away with $20,000 and I'm left stuck paying for his funeral.
I don't know whether to cry or I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Webb versus Batum, step forward.
21-year-old Philip Webb is suing his ex-fiancée, 19-year-old cashier Crystal Batum, for rent and the return of a wedding ring set. Crystal says Philip is stalking her.
Are you scared to death or just unhappy?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Cheer up. It's only money. Mr. Webb, Ms. Batum used to be your girlfriend. You lived together for a period of time at some point in your mother's house. Is your mother?
Yes.
You broke up and you claimed that Ms. Batum came to the house and she took a ring set that you purchased.
Yes.
You want the ring set back. And in addition, you say that Ms. Batum also owes you for a month's rent.
Yeah, for her half of the rent.
Her half of the rent when you were living at your mother's house.
Yes.
Ms. Batum says she paid for the ring set and that there was never any arrangement to pay rent to your mother. Neither of you ever paid rent to your mother. Is that right?
Yeah.
When did you start to live with Ms. Batum in your mother's house?
In August, my mother...
August of what year?
2004. My mother had spoke with us in August and told us, now that, both of us are working with a steady income, she wanted us to pay $300 a month rent.
Mm-hmm.
And then September 23rd is when she left. And
did she agree to pay your mother $300 a month rent?
Yes, we both did.
When in August did your mother have this conversation with you?
Around the middle of the month.
And when did she expect you to start to pay rent?
She expected us to start to pay rent the following month.
In September?
Yes.
And she moved out in September?
She moved out in the end of September.
Mr. Webb, you got to get over this. So did you pay your mother $300 on September 1st? You have a check for that, I assume?
No, I paid her cash. I paid her around the middle of the month when I had gotten my paycheck.
And what about in October? Did you pay her in October?
No, I had moved out.
When in October?
I moved out around the 5th, 6th of October.
And you mean you didn't pay her for October? For the first 6 days in October? You understand what I'm saying to you,
Yeah,
Mr.
I
Webb? Are you
understand.
getting my gist? Stop being petty. Now let's forget about the rent. And let's go to the ring set.
The ring set, I have the receipt where I purchased it.
Good. Do you have the proof that you paid for it?
I paid in cash. So.
Really? Let me see.
And the lady's business card that sold it to me.
I want to see what you
all.
have. And then Miss Batum says that she paid for the ring set. So we're going to see. Paid for the ring set. This says paid $500, tax included. Now, Miss Batum, you left sometime in September.
Yeah.
You had an argument, or you just decided things
No,
weren't
I got tired of everything and I just up and left.
Tell me why you took the ring set.
Well, because we both went in halves on it. We went to the bank, we pulled out some of the money, and then he went back and gave them the rest. And it wasn't $500, it was $300.
Well, he has a receipt that he paid for this.
Well, I have the rings, so.
We have them. Do you have any proof whatsoever, Miss Batum, that you paid for these rings?
No, because it came out of the ATM.
Okay. Good. Very nice. He gets them back. Perfect. Anything else?
No, that's it.
I want him to leave me alone, too, because I have a restraining order against him. And on February 12th, he mailed me a letter.
Can I see the letter? Can I see a copy of a restraining order? You attended a hearing, Mr. Webb, with regard to this restraining order?
Yes.
Did you consent to the restraining order?
I consented, but I didn't agree with it because
I don't care
a
whether
lot
you
of
agreed
it was...
with it or not. You consented to it.
Yes,
you were
I
to
did.
stay away within 100 yards from her,
And I have
from her
done so.
home, and from her job, right?
Yes.
It was her birthday?
Yes.
That's why you sent these?
Yes.
You're not allowed to send them.
I didn't know that. I just was told I had to stay away from her work and stay away from her.
Listen to me, Mr. Webb. You were served with a copy of this protective order.
Yes.
In this protective order, it not only says that you have to stay 100 yards away from her, it reads, and I'm going to read it to you very carefully. You may not do the following. You may not contact her directly or indirectly, or telephone, send messages, or mail or email. Now, while this is not threatening,
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's a love letter. You're not understanding that it's over and that she doesn't want you to have any contact with her. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
You don't want to get into any further difficulty. Is there any other thing that I have to resolve with regard to property or anything else?
Yeah, I have one more thing. I left my birth certificate there. I need my birth certificate back.
Okay. Now you can stand up. Your last name is Webb?
Correct.
You have her birth certificate?
I do.
Okay. I want you to give her birth certificate to your mother. Your mother is going to mail it to this court. This court will see to it that you get it.
Okay. May I say something, please?
Yes.
I know you already went over the rent issue, but I have to bring it up again. It was August 2003. She was the only one with a job at that point.
I'm telling you, you spoke to her in the middle of August. She moved out in September. We're talking about petty stuff, Miss Webb.
I
petty.
understand that, but
I'm telling you that you're talking about petty stuff. Your son moved out into the month of October. Did you sue him for the rent?
No, because he
Just a
did give me a
second.
full...
Just a second. Did you sue him for the rent?
No, I did not,
Of
ma'am.
course not, because you're not petty. Right? Your son has to get over the fact that she doesn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. And you should, as his mother, not exacerbate it. You should say, listen.
No, I just want what's going, and she owes the rent.
Well, I think that you should speak to your son about it.
He already paid her half.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Okay, good. You have a check?
No.
You have a check?
He paid me in cash
You have
for
a check?
$300.
Good. I don't believe you. Sit down. There is no need for you to contact her anymore. Put a period. You have the rings. You're not to email her, mail her, phone her, follow her, be within 100 yards of her. Got it?
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. The fact that I've told this to you doesn't prevent her from going back to court and saying you violated the order. She can still do that. I don't know whether she wants to do that, but what she wants is she wants you to know unequivocally that you're not to have any contact with her. Clear?
Yes, I'm
Good.
perfectly
That's
clear.
all.
Sir, right here.
I was out with my friend and he was accusing me of cheating on him.
Well, she was cheating on me.
She told me that she was going to go out with a guy from work, and she was gone all day.
I'm just glad it's over with. He's a loser. I'm glad I'm gone with him.
Now it just kind of, I'm more mad about it now than I am heartbroken.
For the cost of a plane ticket to Lisbon, Portugal.
This used to be your boyfriend. He's not your boyfriend anymore.
That's correct.
You and your family, I assume your family, were going to Portugal to visit relatives. It is your claim that you laid out money for him to go on that family trip with the understanding that he was going to pay you back.
That's correct.
Mr. Spearman says there was never an agreement to pay you back for the trip. You wanted him to accompany you. You wanted him to meet your family. And he didn't have the money, so you agreed to pay for it.
Yes.
Well, tell me about the agreement that you had with him, Mr. Santos.
I had spoken to him about possibly going, and I had wanted him to go. And he had always told me that he wanted to go to Europe, and he had wanted to visit several places in Europe. So I suggested for him to come with me, and he wanted to. So I purchased a plane ticket, and he had always told me that he was going to pay me back.
Why didn't he purchase the plane ticket?
He did not have a credit card, I believe, and he didn't have enough money to purchase it himself.
So he had no money?
Yeah, not at all.
Well, how could he go on a trip if he had no money?
Well, he had just started working in a new job, and he said that he was going to pay me back when he got the money.
Did you agree to pay her back?
Never.
Well, tell me how it happened, Mr. Spearman.
Well, we were dating on and off, and she originally went to see her parents down there. So she had the ticket to go down there. Well, we were broken up. We got back together. That's why she was going down there when I went. Sorry, a little nervous.
Try looking at me.
Sorry.
That'll make you even more nervous.
I know.
Jennifer DeSantis says ex-boyfriend Dwayne Spearman owes for the cost of a trip to Portugal. Dwayne claims that Jennifer insisted he accompany her.
Go ahead.
I had to get the time off work at first, which I didn't think I was going to be able to do. When they said I could have the time off, I told her, all right, I could come, but I don't have the money. I have a bank statement that shows I didn't have any money. I was in the negatives.
She agrees you had no money.
Yes. She told everyone she was going to pay for me. She told my witness. She told my parents. Even on her life journal, I have a paper that says that she would pay for the plane ticket. I was like, why not?
Well, first let me see the paper that says she's going to pay for the plane ticket. Well, it absolutely says, I bought his plane ticket. He's visiting for 7 days. This is so blank. Fabulous. I want to show him so much blank. So much to do, so little time to do it. I have a good feeling about this.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I have a conversation that took place between both of us stating that he would pay me back.
I'd like to see it.
I highlighted some of the main parts, and there's 2 screen names listed. I don't know if you can figure it out.
He says, I said I'll pay you back eventually. I'm doing that for myself. Technically, though, I didn't want to go. You offered, I said yes. I'd win. It's your word against mine. But then you do agree to pay her back, sir, right?
She kept hounding me.
No, that was the first time I had spoken to him since we broke up. And then I spoke to him afterwards, and he had told me that after that conversation took place, and he said he was not going to pay me back.
She's only doing this out of spite, though. There's no
She
no just
spite.
wanted me to go after we broke up. It's the only time this ever came about.
I tend to believe you.
Your Honor, may I see that for a second?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
May I step up and say something?
Absolutely.
I was
First,
there.
tell me your name.
I'm Andrew Palua. I was there the day that they told me that they were going to Portugal, and I kept on making jokes, you know, he's in debt, he can't afford it. She blatantly said it was a gift, and he did not have to pay her back on many occasions.
Just a second. Didn't you hear what I just said? I know that you had something that you were dying to get out and dying to say. But is there anything different from what you said than what I just said?
No.
Then you can sit down. Thank you very much. I have other things to do today. Have you looked at that now?
Yes, I actually have comments about it.
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm not denying it, but any person, I know ninth graders that could type this up and then bring it to court.
I'm not, ninth graders, I got news for you. I couldn't type it up on that machine,
Sorry.
whatever that machine is. And I've had more than a ninth grade education. The question is, did you in fact write it?
Yes.
Fine.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think it should be used in court, though, because anybody could lie.
Well, when
I'm not gonna,
it's not in me to lie.
That's
listen
why.
to me. Listen to me. If you had said to me, Mr. Spearman, I didn't write that, then I would say, look, you have to prove that he wrote that. But you did. I believe she wanted you to go. I believe she had a good feeling about your relationship, and she wanted to share the European experience with someone that she cared about. I believe that after you broke up, when you came back, then, Mr. Spearman, you're probably a man of good conscience, and you agreed to pay her, right?
Yes.
Now, how much was the ticket?
$1,101.
Okay. And I tell you right now that the expenses that you had while you were in Portugal were limited. Your parents took you out for most of the meals that you were there, and whatever other money that you spent, you spent. But I believe he has the responsibility to pay you back for his airplane ticket. You agree with that, sir?
No, but I respect it.
I'm glad, because that email, or whatever that is, that conversation that you had, suggests that you are a man of good character. You don't want me to think otherwise, do you?
No.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,101. That's all.
Judge, you may step out.
Save our relationship.
It's untrue. I'm happy in a new relationship, and it has nothing to do with that.
Probably no future, ever.
It's ancient history. I'm moving away, and I can't wait to be gone from all of it.
22-year-old student Annette Wagers is suing her former friend, 22-year-old construction worker Justin Lawson, for assaulting her after she turned down his sexual advances. Justin denies the charge and claims Annette suffered a seizure.
Now, this is case number 41 on the calendar, the matter of Wagers versus Lawson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Wagers, it is your claim that Mr. Lawson, who used to be a friend of yours, assaulted you when you were out camping with him and with some of his friends. Mr. Lawson says that you absolutely were not assaulted. What happened is you got into sort of a scuffle, and you fell and had a seizure. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
How do you know him?
I met him through a friend of my cousin's.
Were you dating him?
No.
But you decided to go camping with a group.
Right.
And where were you going camping?
Carlsbad State Beach.
You have to keep your voice up. I'm old.
I'm sorry, it's the Carlsbad State Beach.
How many people were going?
Well, Justin and I, we went together.
This is Justin?
That's correct.
Okay.
It was approximately 2 families, maybe 5 people each family, maybe like 12, 13 people.
Okay, now tell me about this episode that you had.
We had a great day. We hung out at the beach with his friend Kenny and their family, and his younger brother. He had started drinking over the day, which I didn't really see as a problem.
You mean Justin?
Correct. We eventually decided that the sleeping arrangements would be we would sleep in the bed of his truck with an air mattress because everything else was taken. The tents were taken, the RV was taken.
So who was going to sleep in the truck on an air mattress?
Justin and I.
Okay.
What happened was he started to get like fresh on me and trying to hook up.
At the truck?
Yeah, when we were in bed after everybody else had gone to bed too. I told him I don't want to hook up with you. I expressed so I wasn't initiating the same type of relations back. And it was an uncomfortable situation. I wasn't interested in doing it. It was cold. The air mist from the ocean was getting us wet. The air mattress was going flat. I mean, it was just a bunch of things. I wasn't interested. And
not romantic.
Yeah, it wasn't romantic. And there were a bunch of people like in tents like around next to the truck. So it wasn't.
So even if you had been so inspired, it wasn't an ideal situation.
Right.
Well, men don't get that.
Sometimes.
They could have mist on their face. They could have soot on their face. It could be raining rodents. It doesn't make any difference. Very often they don't need that kind of inspiration. So what happened next, Miss Wages?
Well, after telling him no, he just became really annoyed with me, and he was calling me baby, he was calling me the B word, and all these other things. So I told him, I'm going to leave if this is how you're going to treat me. So I got out of the truck and went to the exit of the campsite of our lot and then went to the right. Unfortunately, that's a dead end. It's not an exit to leave the park.
What time is this?
Maybe 9:45, 9:30.
How did you plan on getting home?
My mom lives less than a mile away on
Okay,
Coast
great.
Highway, so I was going to
Fine,
walk
so you're going to
there.
walk home.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So I started to walk down there, and he followed me down. He started in on me, started talking to me, you can't leave, you can't do this. So he started grabbing my arms, and he was really adamant about making his point to me. And he grabbed my biceps right here and then was shaking me, and he was screaming at me, literally screaming in my face. We heard a noise from about 200 feet off, like adjacent behind us. And we looked over, and I saw his friend Kenny, and then Kenny's cousin. And I mean, it's unmistakable because Kenny's 6'7". So I mean, there are not too many people that are tall. So I was like, that's Kenny. He can see you. You better stop. He's watching you. So he stops. He starts to calm down, and he's telling me, please don't be mad at me. Just please. He was like begging me, literally like crying and doing these motions. And so I was, okay, well, if you can settle down, then I'll go back there. So I go back, and he had even tried to hold my hand on the walk back. But I was just like, no, I'm not going to hold your hand after you've just been doing that and shaking me and stuff. And he got mad about it and stayed behind. And so I went back to the campsite by myself. When I arrived there, I saw Kenny and his cousin sitting there. And he looked really somber, and he's sitting there and he's asking me, are you okay?
Is this Kenny?
That's Kenny, yes.
You remember that happening?
I don't remember me saying if she was okay or anything. I just remember the incident.
Good. All right, let's get to it. So you're back at the campsite now.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there with Kenny. He's asking me if I'm okay and whatnot. Justin comes up and he says, get over here. And I turned to him and I said, listen, I've already explained to you, if you're going to talk to me that way, I'm not going to talk to you. So he comes, asks nicely, please, I just want to talk to you. Starts bothering me with that, begging again. So I go talk to him again. And I decide, okay, we can go to sleep now. This is enough of this. Let's just let it go. So we go into the bed, and he starts to do it again. He was like, getting close to me and trying to kiss me and stuff. And I was like, you know what? Finally, I'm going to leave. I listed off the reasons why.
Okay, you should have done that the first time. So you got out of the truck. What happened when you got out of the truck?
This time I went the right way down to the exit, and he comes running up behind me, telling me, don't leave, don't leave. And he grabs my arms again. So that time I was really fed up with the situation. My hands were like this, and I pushed him forward. I was like, get off of me. And I started walking away, and he really couldn't handle the fact that I was walking away.
Well, you called him a name also.
Well, I called him a moron in the end.
Okay, so you called him a moron. And after you called him a moron, what happened?
Well, what happened is he called me a firsthand, and then I said, I can't be I'm not sleeping with you. You're a moron.
Okay.
And then so he got mad at me calling him a moron, and he said, oh, I'll show you what a moron is. And he drew back, and then he socked me in the face. And after that, I don't remember anything at that point until I was in the ambulance.
You have medical report?
Certainly.
Can I see them, please?
Sure.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. That Wager says former friend Justin Lawson punched her in the head after she rebuffed his sexual advances.
Okay. Were you smoking marijuana that night?
No, but I have done it in the past.
What about him?
Yes.
Didn't have just a little?
I wasn't with him while he was doing it.
We smoked on the way up there. Smoked a doobie, a joint.
And after that, sir? Did you smoke any more?
No.
Okay, Justin.
Well, at the time she was staying with me for a couple weeks, and we got invited to go up to Carlsbad State Beach with his family. I decided to ask her if she wanted to go along. She said yes, that would be cool. On the way up there, everything was fine. We got up there and stopped at the campsite, had some dinner, and everything was going okay. Yes, I was cuddly with her. At the time, we were intimate. And
you were intimate?
Yes, at the time before.
Just a second. For the first time?
No, this is for 2 weeks prior that we hooked up, and that's when she was living with me. We went to the bar that night.
Is that right?
I had known him for a week, and I wasn't living with him. I was staying with my girlfriend who he knew.
The question is, had you been intimate with him before the night of the 15th of July?
A week prior, yes.
You had been? Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you got into the bed of the truck, you anticipated that this was going to be a recurring theme?
Not necessarily. Yes, I can say I have been drinking that night. I got in and just pretty much put my arm around her and cuddled like I would do any other time. Yeah, I might have touched her stomach or rubbed her leg and gave her the wrong impression. Yes, she got out of the car and she walked away. I chased her down because at the time I had feelings for her. I liked her. So I followed her, asked her what was going on, and she said she wasn't happy and that she wanted to leave. We went for the walk, talked about it and everything was fine. All the way back, she was being kind of loud and she wanted to go into the campsite and get one of her bags or something. I told her that we couldn't go in the campsite until she got a little bit quiet because his parents were sleeping at the time. And she didn't like that fact at all. You know, she wanted her bag out of my truck right then and there. She wasn't going to stay with me that night. She wanted to go home.
So she wanted to go back to the campsite to get her bag to leave.
Yes, out of my truck at the time. And at the time, I couldn't let her in just because of my parents were sleeping and she was being loud. She was being belligerent. At the time of that, Kenny walked up with his cousin, asked us what was going on. She said nothing was going on and went in and got her bag or whatever. Well, she started walking off, and I called her name for walking off.
Called her a name?
Yes, I called her a B for walking off, you know.
You mean for leaving?
For leaving, yes. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand what was happening. All night long, everything was great. Through dinner, everything was great. And then,
well, this was the second time, Justin, that she was trying to leave.
Yeah, she tried to walk away, and I stopped her before, yes.
So why didn't you just let her leave?
Well, the second time when she turned around, you know, I said, you know, I don't know why you're being a B. You know, I don't see why we can't just talk and see what's going on. Because I didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, she just turned on me. I mean, it was all night long she was cool, and then all of a sudden she turned on me, and it was totally a different face. So finally I told her, I said, well, yeah, why don't you go home? And so she started walking or whatever. Well, I said something underneath my breath, and she heard me, and she didn't like what I said. To this day, I cannot remember exactly what I said. I might have called her an H or something, but I don't know for sure. She turned around, came over, and started pushing on me. She lunged the last time. I stepped out of the way. She fell down. She was laying on her face. I waited for her to get up or whatever, and she didn't move at all, so I rolled her over, and she was having a seizure. At the time, he ran in and got his dad. His dad's a diabetic, has seizures and stuff. So he's like, she's having a seizure right now. Don't touch her.
Who said that?
His father.
I don't care what you say his father said. That's hearsay. If his father wanted to support your position, he could have been here.
He's at work, so...
That's your story. Your story is she fell over and she was having a seizure.
Yes.
She never had a seizure before in her life.
Well, the paramedics, when they came to pick her up, she got up and walked to the ambulance herself. You know, she was...
Did you tell the paramedics she had a seizure?
No,
Are you the friend that told the paramedics that she had a seizure, Justin?
I told the ranger that I thought she was having a seizure.
You told the ranger that you thought she was having a seizure?
Yeah.
How from a seizure did she have swollen problem with her temporomandibular joint?
Because she fell face first on the ground.
You fall face first. You fall over here. You don't fall on your side.
Well, when I rolled her over, she was laying with her face like this, like with her arms out.
Justin, I don't buy that, honey.
Well, I'm sorry.
Justin, I don't buy that, my dear. If you know why? Because it doesn't make sense. Because if you're having a seizure and you fall, and even if you fall on your side, you fall on this side of your head, you don't. It's very hard to fall on this indentation unless you happen to be unlucky enough to fall on a rock that's sticking out on this part of your face. So you could fall over here, you could fall over here, fall on the front of your face, but to fall and get this part of your face, that's quite a trick. You ought to be in Cirque du Soleil. That's why I don't buy what you're saying to me, Justin.
Okay.
Don't buy it, my dear. And the fact that you went to the hospital afterwards with her and waited for her to wake up and told the doctor before she woke up that she had had a seizure. That's what, you're the friend. You did go to the hospital with her, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Were you nervous?
At the hospital?
Yeah.
I was crying the whole time. I didn't know what happened.
I don't blame you for crying. I don't think that you meant anything to happen bad to her that night. I think you had a little too much to drink and a little too much to smoke. And she wanted to leave and she wanted to go home and you didn't want her to go home. And you left out the fact that, according to your answer, you said, I grabbed her bag to throw it back in my truck, but she kept pushing me, trying to get her bag back. How come you forgot that? How come you forgot to tell me that you weren't letting her leave, that you took her bag and you were throwing it in your truck because you were trying to prevent her from leaving?
Well, I just told her that I was going to grab her bag, and I grabbed it as I was saying, I'll take you home in the morning. And at that time, it was no problem until...
Well, how come you didn't tell me that, Justin?
I don't know. I'm sorry I left it out.
It's a good story, Justin. It doesn't wash with me. I think you got angry with her. I think when she called you a moron, you hauled off and socked her, and I think she fell down, and she hit her head, and you got a little bit nervous.
Well, I didn't sock her.
Well, that's what I think you did. And since my judgment is the only one that counts, and since her story is supported by what I'm reading in the medical reports, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,900. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We've known each other for a week, so it wasn't a long-term relationship or anything to get really serious about.
You can't say boyfriend and girl if I can say sexual partners.
Well, if she tried to leave a situation, she should have the right to leave the situation.
Any guy that cares about a girl is not going to let him leave.
No means no.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lombardo versus Rao. Step forward, please.
21-year-old waitress Elizabeth Lombardo is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old construction worker Bo Rao, for several loans she made throughout their relationship. Bo says Elizabeth is holding his belongings hostage.
Miss Lombardo, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend, and you lived together for a period of time. According to you, when you separated, he owed you some money.
Yes.
Mr. Rouse says he doesn't owe you any money. Relationships are a give-and-take thing. So get over it and move on with it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you live together, Miss Lombardo?
We lived together from May probably to August of 2004. We started in May 2003.
Is that about right?
That's about right.
And did you move into an apartment together, or did you...
No, we moved in with my family.
That's wrong, Your Honor. Prior to that, we were living at my apartment with my brother, and she was staying over there. Then we moved.
When was that, sir?
That was April and May. We stayed in the apartment, then moved there.
I still had a room in my house. It wasn't.
I don't care whether you still had a room in your house. Were you living with Mr. Rao and his brother for April and May?
Yes.
And then the two of you moved into her family's house?
Yes, ma'am.
Where you had a room?
Yes.
Fine. So what does he owe you money for?
Throughout the course of our relationship, the defendant didn't have a job, so I helped support him.
Okay.
From a dental bill, his car windshield was smashed, dentist, car
you said
payments,
dentist
municipal
twice.
court payments.
Your Honor, I had a job.
So you gave him money?
Yes.
And?
We had a verbal agreement when we were going out that he would pay it back.
Well, tell me about the verbal agreement that he would pay it back.
Just throughout the court, like he would pay me money when he had money, and like when he didn't have a job, I was always forking out money for him.
How often? 5 times, 10 times, 20 times?
It was constant.
And he always said to you, you know, you have $20, I'll pay you back. You have $50, I'll pay you back.
Yeah.
Right? Go ahead.
Then when we separated, we decided he was going to make payments of $40 a week, in which he never continued to do. I received one payment of $50.
Well, how did you come up with the amount that he owed you?
We kept it in mind at all times.
Did you?
No, Your Honor, when we were going out, we weren't keeping...
When you moved out, did you agree to pay her a sum of money?
Oh, no, Your Honor.
You did not?
No, Your Honor.
When you separated, did you sit down and write up something?
Yes.
Let me see it. Did you sign this IOU?
No, Your Honor. And for us to sign each other's name on something was pretty common. I could show you receipts with my signing for her debit card, or her signing for my debit card. It was nothing.
You didn't sign this?
No, Your Honor.
Right. Tell me the circumstances surrounding your separation, Mr. Rao.
The relationship just got ridiculous. She was constantly lying. Everything that would come up would be a lie about something. I couldn't live at her house anymore. And I actually left for the weekend after a fight, and when I came back, all my stuff was at my parents' house, and she said I had to be out.
So she moved your stuff out?
She moved it with no notice of anything, so
Okay.
then she wanted me out.
I'm ready to hear the rest. 30 seconds or less, Ms. Lombardo.
When he moved out, when he wanted his bed, his stuff was there, that's when well, you don't believe that he signed the paper.
Well, just a minute. So is what you're telling me, you told me he couldn't take his things unless he signed the paper?
Mm-hmm.
Then even if he signed it, it's worthless.
He had this agreement with me.
Let me explain something to you. He didn't. What you're saying is that during the course of your year and some months relationship, if you gave him $20, if you gave him $50, whatever it was, he said to you, when I get it, I'll pay you back. And that's what people do when they live together and they're not married. Don't worry, honey, I'll pay you back. That's not a loan. When two people play house and not commit to a relationship as we know it and get married, courts aren't interested in going over $20 here, $5 here, $15 there, $100 for the dentist, $12 for this. Courts aren't interested in doing that. We got other things to do. Mm-hmm. So it's been my suggestion, if you watch carefully, if I've always said, keep your finances separate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to put a real period and say, it's over.
I'm fine.
How old are you?
21.
21? Perfect. You didn't waste a lot of your time. You didn't waste the best years. You didn't waste the flowing years. Who is this, by the way?
This is my girlfriend, Your Honor.
She have anything to contribute to this case other than, you know, looking nice?
No, just
she decided to come with you to irritate her.
She's seen the craziness.
To irritate her.
Yeah.
Well, probably not the best idea to bring her. Who is this?
This is my friend.
So he brought a girlfriend, you brought a friend. Move on. He did. You should. Have a happy life. Case dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. They step out.
Just pathetic that he has to lie that I didn't lend him money, that I supported him, and that he didn't sign the paper when he did sign the paper.
She makes up fake things. She lied. The whole relationship was basically a joke.
You trust someone and you can't.
It was out of trust and love because she's a nice person, and that's what happens when you're nice to people and trust them.
She just needs to get over it because he doesn't want her anymore. He's a scumbag.
It's over, man. It's over. It's all over.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Finnegan versus Cooper. Step forward, please.
19-year-old warehouse worker Justin Finnegan is suing 28-year-old student Catherine Cooper for backing into his car. Catherine says Justin was illegally parked.
Mr. Finnegan, it is your claim that Miss Cooper damaged your car by backing into it.
Yes, that is correct.
And you want her to pay for the damage that was done to your car. Miss Cooper says that your car is, or was, I don't know, it's still in existence, an illegally parked piece of junk. Okay, where did this happen, Mr. Finnegan? No, listen to me. I didn't ask you to show me. It's not show and tell. Where did it happen?
We were at the apartment complex.
At an apartment complex?
Yes.
Whose apartment complex?
Her old apartment complex and my witness Matt's apartment complex.
You don't live there?
No, I do not.
What were you doing there?
I was visiting with my friend Matthew.
When?
September 20th.
2004.
Yes, that's correct.
Now you can go over to your chart and show me where your car was.
Okay.
You say your car was parked.
Yes. No, it was still running. I had forgot my wallet, and I was parked right here.
Well, that says driveway. It's written there, driveway. So you left your car running in the driveway. Where had your car been parked, Mr. Finnegan?
My car was parked right here.
That says friend's car.
When we had left, no one was there. That was where I was parked.
Okay, so that space, you were occupying that space, and then you backed out into the driveway, left your car running, and went back inside to get a wallet?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, now my question to you is, why didn't you pull back into the parking space?
Because we were just running in real quick.
Not we. Don't say we. You were driving?
Yeah.
It's your car, not we
That's
were
correct.
running in. Who ran in? How many people did it take to get a wallet?
I ran in real quick to grab the wallet.
So you were driving. So my question to you is, why didn't you pull back into the parking space?
I wasn't going to take that long. I was just running and grab the wallet and turn around.
It was long enough for somebody to hit your car.
She was backing out.
It was long enough for somebody to hit your car. Then what happened, Mr. Finnegan?
I had grabbed the wallet, turned around, came out the front door, and we started yelling because she was coming close to the car. And
who's we?
Me and my witness Matt, and I had another friend outside, and we were all yelling, "Watch out! Watch out!"
Just a second. Where was this witness?
We were
not we.
Matt was standing right here, right outside of the.
He was standing on the grass. What was he doing there?
He had got out to talk to someone.
And she hit your car.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, show me.
Okay.
What's his house? Picture of a house.
That one is a picture of the pole.
What does a pole have to do with this?
I was just showing that she has broke that pole several times with her vehicle.
I want to see a picture of your whole car, sir.
The whole car? We don't have one of the full car.
Why not?
Because I just took a picture of
What's
only
this plural? What's a we?
Sorry.
I want to see a picture of the whole car. She says that this is a gray car that you've painted with house paint. Looks like that to me on this little thing over here, because that has to go to your damages, sir. Is this car painted with house paint?
No, it's primer. It was red.
Primer. Who painted it with primer?
It was primered when I had bought it. I was getting ready for paint.
How long have you had it?
I had it for a year.
Did you ever have it painted?
I haven't had it yet. It's sitting in the shop right now.
Why?
Because I was rebuilding the car.
All right, Ms. Cooper, I'll hear you.
Okay.
That's part of the 20th of September, 2004. You backed into his car.
Yes, I did. And right after that happened, I got all his friends. There was more than that many people out, and they surrounded me, and they were yelling at me and calling me all kinds of horrible names. And I told them, fine, I'll just pay you. I was on my way to work. So I left after that. I needed to get out of there. There was a bunch of teenagers, and they were all partying. There's a lot of traffic in and out of the place all the time. And they all started harassing me, and the harassment never ended.
Okay, so you backed into his car.
Yeah.
You didn't see it?
I didn't see it. There was a car parked next to me. I was parked in my normal parking spot, and
I see where you say your car was parked.
Okay.
Now, what happened then, Mr. Finnegan? She didn't pay you for it, is that right?
Yes. She had asked me to bring her an estimate, and she would make payments for it.
Fine. Did you bring her an estimate?
Yes, I did.
Was it a reasonable estimate?
Yes.
What was it for?
It was $670.20.
How much did you pay for the car?
I paid $2,000 for the car.
What year, make, and model car is it?
It's a 1990 Honda Civic.
Did you buy it in primer coat?
Yes, I did.
And you paid $2,000 for it?
That is correct.
Somebody saw you coming. So you gave her this estimate. Go ahead. What happened next?
And I had waited. She had said she was waiting on a check, and I had said, okay. And I came back to her, and she had said, I don't have the money. I just started a new job. And I had waited another week or so, and I had came back, and I followed up each week about the money, and every time it was a different story.
Why don't you tell Officer Bird here what you did, sir?
I had asked her about the money, and she said, well, I'm moving, and I don't have the money. And so, out of anger, I got mad, and I went and I took a baseball bat to the back window.
Of what?
Of her vehicle.
Of her car?
That's correct.
Who was in the car at the time?
Her daughter was in the car.
Her baby was in the car?
And I did not know that at the time.
No, I told them.
Shh, 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 shh. Sorry. Got it?
Oh, yeah.
You got your anger out. And you were arrested.
That's correct.
And you pled guilty to vandalism.
It was criminal mischief.
And you were forced to pay restitution.
That is correct.
What do we think? Petrie Hawkins Bird. Evidently, Mr. Finnegan understands how to go to small claims court and file papers.
Apparently.
He even knows how to oversee drawing diagrams.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Finnegan, you think I'm sympathetic to you, sir?
No, ma'am.
You're right. That you're right about. And why do you think I'm not sympathetic to you, Mr. Finnegan?
Because of what I did was not right.
Correct.
In any way, shape,
One thing was an accident, at least partially caused by your own negligence for leaving your car running in a parking lot where there are children around. Child could have run into the car, driven, hurt themselves, hurt a lot of other people because you couldn't take the time. You must have been off to a very, very important corporate meeting so that you couldn't pull this car back into the parking space, turn off the ignition, and take the key when you went inside to get your wallet. So at least you were partially responsible for what happened to your own piece of junk.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And instead of acting like a grown-up and saying, well, she's not paying me, that's not the right thing to do, maybe it'll cost me $50 to have my car fixed. Instead, you take a baseball bat to her car with her baby in the car sitting in the back seat and smash the window.
Yes, ma'am.
You think that a court is going to be sympathetic to you?
No, ma'am.
You're right. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. Let's step out.
They have fight clubs, bunch of teenagers beating each other up all over the place, bleeding all over the parking lot.
And, you know, we're teenagers. We have lots of friends, you know.
I know that there's drug activity going on around there.
We meet up there, and then, you know, we all leave together.
We said, my daughter's in the car, Justin, because I saw him come around with a baseball bat, and I knew he meant business then.
I never wanted to be mean or, you know, have problems with her. I just wanted, you know, what was mine.
I was just really scared, just shaky and scared, hoping that the cops would get there fast.
Kenneth Keaton is suing 26-year-old craftsman Dustin Snow for assaulting him after he caught Dustin picking avocados from his tree.
Yeah, this is case number 545 on the calendar in the matter of Keaton versus Snow. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Mr. Keaton, according to your complaint, sir, you are a property owner. You own a home.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And on your property, amongst other things, there's an avocado tree.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm a city girl. I didn't even know how avocados came, whether they were hatched or grew on a vine, but now I know. Avocados are generated in trees.
Correct.
According to what I read, Mr. Snow here was stealing your avocados.
That's correct.
Shh. No. You have to be quiet. Was stealing your avocados, and during the course of this altercation, he assaulted you.
Yes, he did.
And injured you.
Correct.
You want to be compensated for that.
That's right.
For that injury. Mr. Snow, while he acknowledges that he was stealing your avocados, sort of, says that you provoked this incident by throwing one of the avocados at his girlfriend who was sitting in the truck. Now, Mr. Snow, I'm going to start with you. You were, in fact, taking avocados from a tree that belonged to Mr. Keaton.
Yes, Your Honor.
I would like you to describe to me how you were doing that.
I actually was driving down the street, and I pulled up under the tree, which actually hangs over the street. I have pictures I could show you as well.
Where are they?
They're right here, Your Honor.
Good. What were you driving down the street in?
A Dodge truck.
Where were you going?
I take care of a mentally disabled person. I was going down to just acquaint with him and take him out to breakfast.
Where does he live?
About 8 houses down from Mr. Keaton.
So you pass this property regularly?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many times have you taken property from Mr. Keaton?
Your Honor, I took it one time prior. I had taken avocados, and
how many did you take?
I'd say around 20, 25.
What did you do with them?
Made guacamole, Your Honor.
Well, you took them because... You took them because you felt that you were entitled to take them because the branches hung over into the street. Is that what you're telling me?
Somewhat, Your Honor. It was really easy for me to stand in the back of my truck. I didn't get out and climb into his tree from his property. I merely parked my truck in a legal manner and stood in the back and reached up and picked the avocados.
Okay. Did you know it was the wrong thing to do, sir?
Yes, I did. Very stupid.
So you knew it was stupid?
I knew it was stupid.
And you knew it was wrong. Now, on what date did this altercation take place, Mr. Snow?
Ma'am, I don't recall.
Mr. Keaton?
I know exactly the date, Your Honor. February 29th, 2004. It was a Sunday morning, about 10:30.
Now, you were going to see this person that you take care of?
Yes, ma'am.
On your way there, you decided to stop by and get some avocados?
It was a rather spontaneous event. I just kind of was driving down the street. I saw him up there, was thinking guacamole. Didn't think it was much of a big deal. I didn't think it would blow up into this and get us out of control as it did.
But you didn't just take 1 or 2 avocados, Mr. Snow, did you?
No, I think I probably had about 20.
Tell me how you got them.
I pulled under the tree and I stood in the back of my truck and I was pulling them off. And I had there was a branch hanging down so low that I climbed up into the tree.
This time you actually...
So yeah.
This time you actually trespassed...
From my truck, I grabbed a branch and I climbed into the tree and I was picking them off and throwing them onto his grass, actually.
Now, Mr. Snow, let's say you're walking along the street and you can pick your hand up and you can pull down an avocado. Still, it belongs to somebody else, but you're taking one. But you didn't take one, you were a pig.
Yes, ma'am, I was a pig.
Oh, yeah, can't even work up a sweat with this guy. Perfect.
Happens sometime.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so you're home and you hear something going on outside. You walked outside. What did you see, Mr. Keaton?
Well, actually, I didn't hear anything outside. I had a job to do for a friend across town. I was going to cut some tree roots out and remove a stump for this lady.
This is not particularly germane to the case, what you were going to do across town?
No, but it's setting up the point that I'm walking to my truck with my tools to put into the truck. His truck was partially blocking the driveway with his passenger sitting in the front seat. And as I decided, well, I better ask her to move the truck, it started raining avocados from my avocado tree. And that's when I noticed Mr. Snow in the top of the tree, but I'd say at least 16 to 20 foot high into the tree, standing on branches, leaning on others, picking avocados as fast as he could. And at one point, I thought it might be necessary to retrieve his license plate number. By the time I got to the back of the vehicle, he was coming thumping down onto the grass, jumped out of the tree. How far he jumped, I have no idea. I'm surprised he didn't hurt himself. But I indicated that he had not seen or paid attention to my 3 no trespassing signs.
What did you say to him?
I told him to get the hell out of my tree.
Okay.
And if you would like to see some of the signs that I have here that depict what was right in line with the cab, not only of where he parked or where his passenger was sitting, they're clearly marked.
Keep off the tree. Keep going.
And then at that point, he did offer $3 for...
No. So far you told him to get out of your tree, and he did.
Yes,
so
and
let's go back to the conversation. Get out of the tree. You heard him jump down from the tree. Then what happened next?
Well, I think I demanded payment at 50 cents a piece for those avocados.
Exactly. What did you say? If you remember, tell me what you said.
I know I asked him for 50 cents a piece for the avocados. He did bring his wallet out and says, I can offer you $3. That's all I have. I says, you've really picked more than you can afford to pick. And I think maybe this is time where you should meet the sheriff department. Well, he slowly bent down and decided, well, I'm going to pick your effing avocados, old man. What are you going to do about it?
Is that what he said to you?
Absolutely.
Is that what you said to him?
No, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Seth Keaton says he was assaulted by Dustin Snow after he caught him stealing avocados from his tree.
Go ahead.
There's no way I jumped 20 feet out of the tree.
Okay, so you jumped out of the tree because you knew you were doing something wrong.
I knew I was doing something wrong,
Okay,
so I
so
got
you
down to
jumped out.
confront him, and I was very rational and patient with him. I said, okay, I'm sorry about this. I said, well, what do we do here? Because I don't want any trouble. He said, you leave your truck and your girlfriend here, and you walk your down to the bank, and you get me 50 cents for every avocado.
Well, so far he didn't know that you didn't have enough money to pay him.
Well,
so
he didn't know. He didn't know. Yeah, this was.
No, just a second.
About 15 minutes.
Just a second. So you must have taken out your wallet and went to give him some money, and said, "This is all I have."
Yeah, because I didn't want any problems.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
And he said, "Well, that's not going to do it. You picked 20 avocados." And then, according to you, he said, "Well, you're going to leave your truck and your girlfriend. You go to the bank and get me some money."
Walk. He wanted me to walk.
Walk. Right, like you were climbing the tree. He wanted you to walk to the bank.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What happened next? Come on, I'm still waiting for a rebuttal to what he says that you told him that day.
About the effing avocados that he said?
Yes.
I don't recall saying that at all.
What do you recall saying to him?
I recall being very rational and patient with him, saying, hey, look, buddy, I don't want any problems. I pulled out my wallet and said, look, this is all I have is $3. I'll even leave these. I made a pile of them right there on his property. I set them aside. I said, here's your avocados. Here's $3. I'm not gonna leave my girlfriend in my truck here, walk however many miles to the bank.
I absolutely agree with you. Go ahead.
And I said, he had my driver's license number. If he needed to get the police going into it, he could have.
So what'd you do next?
After that point, it got kind of stupid. We were sitting there just saying, okay, well, you do this, and you do this. I said, I'm not doing it. I went back and forth. I said, okay, that's enough. I looked at my girl. I said, sweetheart, we're going to get out of here. I might have said, let's get the F out of here. Might have used a bad word. Walked around to the front of my truck to get into my truck.
By that time, you were in the...
we were on his front lawn. I put the avocados in a pile.
You walked to get into the driver's side of your truck.
Right, I went around the front of my truck.
Did you open the door?
Yes, I just got to open the door.
And where is he?
He is sitting directly point blank in front of the passenger, which is my girlfriend.
Okay, so he's sitting there.
Oh, not sitting, standing.
He's standing.
Right in front of the pile of avocados that I had made for him.
Okay, good. And you had the door open.
And I said, this is enough. This is stupid. He's got our license plate. He can call the police and make a report if he wants.
Fine.
We're out of here.
And
we're out of here.
Keep going.
And then as soon as I went and opened my door, I hear loud thumps. And I look across, and I kind of look through the console of the car. And there was at least 3 avocados, at least 2, probably 3 thrown. I have dents in my truck. It was point blank at my girlfriend. I have pictures of the dents if you would like to see them.
I'm more interested in seeing the picture of your girlfriend.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
No. I'm more interested in seeing the picture of your girlfriend's injury, because that's what you say. You say she was injured.
No, she got hit. We didn't go to the hospital or anything. She wasn't hurt. She was hit, but not hurt.
Okay, keep
She
going.
kind of put her hands up to defend herself.
So that didn't hit her?
Well, one hit her, yes.
Where? In the hand?
In the arm, yeah.
You believe. Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
So I went around the front of my truck, and, he was assaulting my girlfriend. He brought violence into the situation.
Just keep going, sir.
So I ran towards him, and I grabbed him by the back of the legs around his knees, pulled his feet out, and just put him on his butt. Now, Your Honor, I'm a very strong man. I could have done a lot of damage to this fella, but I kept my wits about me, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to beat up on this old guy. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want any of this. I wanted to leave.
Why didn't you leave?
Because he's pelting me and my girl with avocados.
Take you 2 seconds, get into the car, close the window, and leave. Take you less time to do that than close the door, walk around the truck, and pull his legs out from under him.
I didn't feel like fleeing, Your Honor. I'm
You didn't
not
feel
one
like
to run.
not fleeing,
No.
leaving.
Well, after he's pelting avocados in my truck, that wouldn't be very smart of me.
Oh, would have been very smart of you.
Why?
Why? I usually don't answer questions, especially questions that are stupid, but I'm going to answer your question, sir, because according to what you just told me, this situation that was instigated by your criminal activity had begun to escalate into violence.
That he
and
is sorry.
smart people, when they are faced with a situation of escalating violence, extricate themselves from the situation. Do not put themselves into the situation with gusto.
Most people don't, but I did.
Then you're responsible for his injury, sir.
Even though he started with the violence.
You didn't start it, sir. You broke the law. You trespassed on his property. And to be quite honest with you, Mr. Snow, he didn't hit your girlfriend. According to you, according to what you said in your answer, which is different from what you're saying now, you said he threw one through an open passenger window from point-blank range and hit my girlfriend.
Yes, he did.
Bull.
Bull?
Bull. That's exactly what I said to you.
As bull? Bull what?
As in baloney. You did the wrong thing, and you're a smart aleck.
No, I admit to doing the wrong thing.
Twice. Not once, but twice. Because aside from committing a crime, it's not a major crime, but you were a pig. Because if you wanted to go to this handicapped person's house that you were taking care of and bring him an avocado, then you take 2 avocados, maybe 3. You don't climb up.
You ever made guacamole, Your Honor? You need several.
Listen to me. I allowed you to ask me one question, which I answered. You only get one opportunity. Why don't you try listening? Your activity that you acknowledge you knew was wrong precipitated an incident, and somebody else was injured. Not her. Not her. And it was a situation that you could have extricated yourself from in a second. You chose not to do that. So you chose to violate this man's property, not once but twice. You chose to stay in the situation because you could have left. No question. You could have left. He had your plate number. You were getting into your car, take off, go to the police, say, listen, I was trespassing on this man's property, stole his property, but then he did what he shouldn't have done. He threw avocados, and my girlfriend had to deflect there because one of them almost came in the window.
It did.
Baloney.
Baloney? You weren't there.
Baloney.
How do you know that?
Your Honor, I have some doctor's reports and bills and also pictures of my injuries. And I also have retained an attorney for the criminal charges that were finally dropped.
How's your arm now?
I do have pain in it from use, like using a weed eater or a hammer to, build my little birdhouses or something like that. And sometimes it turns all white, the skin, because there's so much pain.
Did you ever see the photographs of his injuries, sir?
No, ma'am.
Well, I'd like you to take a look at them. This is what just started with your criminal activity, Mr. Snow.
There was also more taunting by the time I got myself picked up off of the curb that I landed on to cause those type of injuries to my wrist. If he denies about making jaunts or gestures, he continued this taunting at the back of the truck where I was trying to catch my breath.
There's no question in my mind that he's a smart aleck.
No.
No question in my mind. He thought the whole big deal was nothing. Should have just let it go. How long have you been with him?
2 years now.
Your Honor?
Yes.
There's also police reports that go into his past where it was still on probation at the time he did this assault on me, to where he had probably on probation for aggravated assault anyway.
Is that true, Mr. Snow?
No, ma'am.
Were you on probation at the time of this incident?
No, ma'am. Not to my knowledge.
What does that mean? Had you been convicted of a crime?
No.
Well, then the answer would be absolutely not. You couldn't have been on probation or parole because you've never been convicted of a crime.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
You have proof to the contrary, Mr. Keaton?
Yes, here's
I just like to see it with regard to his credibility.
Department. that probably would make a lot more sense to you and you can find what you're looking for.
Take a look.
There are several pages of different arrests and court cases that's been settled. I'm sorry.
Well, he's got a problem with alcohol. How many DUIs do you have, sir?
One, Your Honor.
Convicted?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what do you think a DUI is?
Driving under the influence.
It's a crime. And you were sentenced to 3 years probation.
How long ago was that?
Why are you asking me questions? What difference does it make? I said, well, you want probation? You I don't know. I don't think so. Not to my knowledge. Were you ever convicted of a crime? No. Well, then you couldn't have been on probation.
Well, I believe it was 98. That's why I asked you that.
What difference does it make, sir? You're playing with me.
You said 3 years, correct?
You're playing with me, sir. I asked you if you were ever convicted of a crime. You were convicted of battery. Misdemeanor battery. 3 years probation, 1 day in jail. Remember that?
Yes.
When was that?
I don't recall the date.
You had arrested as a juvenile too, Mr. Snow?
I don't recall.
There was one conviction for DUI, but it covered 3 cases. That sound familiar, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Snow,
yes,
it
ma'am.
looks to me, sir, as if for the past couple of years at least, you have remained out of trouble.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the matter? It was too long a period for you?
No, ma'am.
I mean, I look at this and I see that you had trouble in 98, 99, 2000, 2001, and probably as a juvenile, because your juvenile records probably is sealed in this county, but it certainly indicates that you had a history as a juvenile. And then all of a sudden, a couple of years, you do just fine. Maybe it's her influence on you. Who knows? She said you've been together a couple of years, so maybe she's a good influence on you. What would prompt you to do something so stupid, sir?
Guacamole.
Well, that's pretty stupid.
That's what I say.
That's pretty stupid. Then I would think twice, madam. If his love for vegetables interferes,
it's a fruit, Your Honor.
If his love for fruits and vegetables interferes with his good judgment, then I would think twice about hooking my star to his wagon. Checking for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I feel that the injury and the pain is well beyond the 5,000.
She's a pretty mean woman. She's pretty aggressive.
I depend on those avocados off the tree to help a senior citizen pay his house taxes.
Well, the thing is that he brought the violence to bring, to start it with by throwing them.
I did get loud and obnoxious because I wanted some neighbor to come to my aid.
I was ready to leave and say, hey, here's your stupid avocados. I'm out of here.
When he bent down and started throwing more avocados in the back of the truck, to me that was strong arm robbery.
Come around and I dumped him on his, That's the way you treat a guy like that.
I'm just happy it's over with. It's the pressure off my mind.
Just some expensive guacamole, that's all.
18-year-old bank teller Amanda McClenathan is suing her ex-roommate, 20-year-old Alyssa Connell, for unpaid rent and a security deposit. Alyssa is countersuing for an assault and the return of her belongings.
This is case number 583 in the matter of McClenathan versus Connell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
What's your first name?
Amanda.
How old are you, Amanda?
19.
How long have you been living on your own?
Since January.
You go to school or you work?
I go to school and work.
What school do you go to?
Eastern Connecticut State University.
And what about you? How old are you?
20.
You go to school also?
Yes.
Same school?
No.
What school?
Three Rivers Community College.
How long have you known each other?
Since freshman year of high school.
According to the complaint, you girls decided to live together with one boy or two boys?
It was just one to begin with.
Which boy? Raise your right hand. Had to think about that for a minute. Yep. You are John.
Yep.
John with the paintball gun.
Yeah.
And I gather that after you moved in, you're going to tell me when things didn't work out. And according to your complaint, the defendant moved out owing you some money. Owed you money for rent and a deposit. She says that she owes you a little bit for rent, right?
Mostly for...
Not what you said here. You said you owed her a little bit for rent. Not as much as she wants, but that you have a counterclaim because you claim that she has some of your property and she assaulted you.
She threw a soda bottle at me.
Just say yes or no.
Yes.
I'm going to get to your story in a second. When did you sign your lease?
A little bit before January 1st when we moved in.
And what was the rent?
$1,200 a month.
Who was helping you pay your rent?
I work 3 jobs and go to school, so I pay my own rent.
That's pretty good. And what about John with the paintball gun?
He works full-time. He's a workaholic. He works all the time.
Good. You're supposed to split the rent 3 ways.
Yes.
You say that Miss Connell had trouble coming up with rent and deposit.
Yes.
Go ahead, let me hear.
Okay. When we first moved in, we each had to pay $647.50 for the first month's rent, deposit, all that. And she could only come up with $300, so I covered her. It was $347.50. And since I handle all the bills, everything's in my name, I request that all the rent is made by January 20th so I can send it out for February 1st. On January 20th, Alyssa still didn't have any money because she was suspended from work. So I covered her then too. So I sent the rent out on January 20th, and it would have been $400.
So you covered her for that money?
Yes.
So far she owes you $747.50. Is that right?
Yes.
Am I right or am I wrong?
You're right.
Go ahead.
So then it was January 29th. I was babysitting for a family friend, and my little brother was at the house, but she wanted to have a party. And I said, that's fine, just keep it downstairs, keep it in the basement, because I have little kids here. I don't want them seeing all that, because they were partying pretty hard. And then she kept bringing people upstairs, even though I asked her not to. So we locked the door so that people that were coming there, we were all pretty drunk, were just like banging on the door, and we wouldn't let them upstairs. So one of them threatened John, and that's when John shot the paintball gun out in the yard. And Alyssa was really mad. She came upstairs and she started screaming at him. She was really, really drunk. So she was like yelling at him, and then she started yelling at me, and she ran at me like a chimpanzee. And obviously I knew she was really drunk and I wasn't going to sit there and fight with her, so I just let her. She left. She took her bottle of Captain and she left. Then on the 3rd of February, she called John and said, because we weren't letting her party there anymore, that it wasn't fun living there anymore and she didn't want to live there, so she was moving out. On the 5th, she came back, took her bed and most of her belongings. On the 7th of February, the room smelled disgusting, so I finally went in there. Well, actually, James went in there and trying to find what smelled, and found 2 bags of rotten frozen meatballs. That was the smell. It smelled revolting.
Is that right, James?
Yes.
And what were you doing with meatballs in your room?
I don't think they were mine, so I don't know what she's talking about. I wouldn't have meatballs in my room.
Maybe one of your friends brought the meatballs.
Nobody was in my room that night.
What kind of a party were you having?
Actually, to set the story straight, it wasn't my party. We had been having parties every Saturday except for the 22nd because it snowed that day. Then on the 29th, we had people calling us saying, hey, we heard you're having a party.
Who were they calling?
Mine and Amanda's cell phones. And actually,
anybody call your cell phone?
I'm sure people did.
Did you tell them that you were having a party?
No.
Yes, she did.
No, I did not. I never said that we were having a party.
Were you downstairs partying with your friends?
I was down there for a little bit, but I kept coming upstairs because I didn't even know half the people. Her friends were down there also, though.
Did she have small children upstairs?
Yes, she did.
So then I gather she did not go downstairs.
She was downstairs for a little bit.
I was not.
No, I don't believe that. What happened to the rent? $747.50.
When we first moved in, it was one of those things where we had to come up with money because the guy wanted us to sign the lease. Because he
of course, that's what happened.
Yes, he was going back to Maryland. So I got money from my mother. She wrote me a $200 check, and then we said the rest of it would come up with along the way. So she covered some of it. She covered $135 of mine. And
well, she says she covered $347.50.
John gave $1,000.
I'm asking you about your money. I'm not interested in anybody else. She said she covered $347.50 for you. Is that correct?
No.
How much did she cover for you?
I'm not sure of these. I want to say $135 she covered of mine because she was also paying for James to move in.
I'm talking about your money. Show me proof that you gave her $647.50, please.
I didn't give her all of it.
Close to it. Around January. Can I have that, please? Around January of 2005. This is December 20th, 2004. Check made out to you for $200 that you cashed.
Yes.
What's that for?
That her mother paid $200 of her. So out of the $300 that she paid, her mother paid $200 of it, and her mom made the check out to me.
So she owes.
So she did give $300, but she owed $647.50.
$647.50, leaving $347.50. Do you understand?
She didn't put in all the money, though. John put in some of it.
I don't care who put it in. She'll give it back to John.
Okay.
You owed the money, didn't pay for it.
Yes.
$347.50. Okay. January.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Linda McClenathan says ex-roommate Alyssa Connell owes for rent and a security deposit. Alyssa claims Amanda assaulted her with a can of soda.
Now, when did you move out in February?
On February 4th, I packed up some of my belongings. I was not planning to move out. She assumed I was.
I don't care. You were there in February.
Until the 4th.
Then you owe the rent for February.
The reason I moved out, though,
was because initially I called up the landlord and I had called the police also because she had become very temperamental. She wrote on my door with a permanent marker. She threatened me with retaliation. And so I was calling the police, talking to them what I should do about this because I don't feel safe living with her. She's going to be throwing things at me, threatening me. I have a brand new car and I don't want anything happening to it because she's the type of person who will egg a person's car if she doesn't like them.
Well, let me ask you this question, Ms. Connell. When did she do this to you, these things?
On February 2nd, which was a Wednesday, she threw a soda bottle at me.
That's the assault you're talking about?
Yes.
And she wasn't a bottle. According to your answer, it was a can.
A can or a bottle.
Did she hit you with it?
Yes.
Where?
In the leg.
Did you go to a doctor?
No.
Why not?
Because it was just like a bruise or something that it left.
What do you mean, just like a bruise or something?
It was just a bruise that it left.
Do you have a photograph of it?
I had a camera that had pictures on it of all the damages that she did to the house, the 2 doors
I'm
that
not
she broke.
interested in the house. I asked you about your leg.
Well, there was pictures on it, but she stole it out of my room. That's not true, Your Honor.
Let's move on from the assault. February 2nd, you had this altercation.
Yes.
You moved out some stuff on February 4th.
Yes.
Had you paid February's rent on the 20th of January?
Not yet.
Why not?
Because, she said, I was suspended from work, which was a whole sexual harassment retaliation type thing that we're
You
going
owed
through.
the money.
Yes, I know.
Well, you should have paid her. So far that's $747.50, which is exactly what she's suing for, which is what you owe her. Now let's get to your counterclaim, okay? Because I've just taken care of the assault. It's not nice if you threw a soda can at her. Value of personal property and damages. What personal property does she have of yours?
Do you want the list, or do you want me to just read it to you?
Read it to me.
Okay. I left 2 washers and a dryer.
That's a big item, washer and dryer.
She did leave those items. I have pictures of all the items that she left at the house that I took a couple days before I left for court. She just left them at the house. No one ever took them from her.
Fine, so you don't have a problem returning them?
No. She can come get them whenever she wants.
Okay. I have a sofa. 2 sofas or one?
Yes, there's 2 sofas.
2 sofas.
A chair.
A washing machine.
A
dryer. A chair.
Oh, she also left another chair and a punching bag.
Okay. You arranged for a truck in 5 days, madam? Go and pick up your stuff.
Yes. The fact of the matter is, though, is that I lost of sale on the washer and dryer because I could have sold it, and I had told John that I was going to come pick him up.
I know, Kate. 5 days from today, you go and pick up your stuff. Anything else?
Yes. 2 CDs, 5 belts, a black ruffled skirt, white dress pants, and my coat was damaged in the stuff that she packed up.
Do you have any of her
No.
property? Listen to me very carefully, madam. You owe her $747, and 5 days from today.
She changed the law.
And 5 days from today, she had every right to. You hadn't paid rent. It's not her problem that you got laid off from work. Get another job.
I had the job still.
Then you should have paid rent. 5 days from today, is this your mother?
Yes.
Your mother, whoever else you want to, is going to go pick up your property that you left behind when you moved out. Your white dress with the ruffled feathers you should have taken with you when you moved. Thank you very much. This case is over.
Why is that excused? You may step out.
I can't help the fact that Amanda's a compulsive liar and she likes to throw things at people. I think it's hilarious that she said I assaulted her because I threw a cup of soda. I was 5 feet away from her. I threw a cup of soda on the floor and it splashed her. She broke 2 doors in the house one night when she was drunk. She's very immature, obviously. Pick your friends a little better. If she can't pay the rent in the beginning, don't get into a lease with her. She's not going to pay it all along.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Riley versus Kent. Step forward.
25-year-old restaurant manager Cody Riley is suing his former roommate, 20-year-old barista Zachary Kent, for selling his property while he was in jail. Zachary says he used the money to move back home.
Mr. Riley, I have some preliminary questions for you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
Are you a college graduate?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you graduate from school?
Ashworth College in Atlanta, Georgia.
And were you working at the time?
At the time I got my degree, yes, ma'am.
What were you doing?
I was a restaurant manager for Jack in the Box restaurant in Texas.
When was the last time you worked full-time, sir?
I'm currently working now.
When did you start this current job?
A week and a half ago.
Prior to that, where did you work?
Prior to that, I was incarcerated.
For how long?
19 months.
So the last real job that you had was in 2001, working for Jack in the Box?
There was another one I had. I did my own web hosting and internet design.
When was the last time you filed federal tax returns?
In 2003.
And what amount did you claim that you earned in 2002?
A couple of thousand.
2002, did you file tax returns for 2001?
Yes, ma'am.
From working in Jack in the Box?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you earn there?
19 and change.
$19,000.
$19,000, yes, ma'am.
These are just preliminary questions to what your case is about. You were incarcerated, according to what I read in your complaint and in the defendant's answer, for creating bad checks.
Yes, ma'am.
Not writing bad checks, but creating the checks
yes, ma'am.
On your computer.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint is that you and Mr. Kent had been good friends. You decided to move from Texas to Kansas City. And you did move there. You were older by 4 or 5 years. Is that right?
Yes.
Speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
Shortly after you arrived in Kansas City, you were arrested for these bad checks and incarcerated. The whole process probably took a couple of years. Shortly after you were arrested and incarcerated, Mr. Kent sold all of your property.
Yes, ma'am.
And with the money, moved himself back to Texas. You don't deny that you did that. Could you answer me? This is a television program.
No, ma'am.
It's not a silent movie. Right?
Yes.
All right, good. Now, why did you sell all of his property?
He paid for my way up there. I felt that he had to pay for my way back.
He's out in Kansas. You're in jail.
Yes, ma'am.
He wants to go home. He doesn't want to click his heels together and say, take me back to Kansas. He wants to click his heels and say, take me back to Texas. How'd you expect him to get there?
I had told him recently, whenever I spoke with him, that had he asked or something like that, I would have done something. But taking all of my belongings that cost far more than a trip back to Texas, and
what belongings did he take, Mr.
I have a list of all the belongings that I had in my apartment, including a television, stereo, furniture, dishes, clothing, 2 pet dogs.
Let's see. A Mitsubishi television set that you paid how much for?
$2,099.
Where'd you get the money from?
I had my web hosting company, so I had money from that, and my mother also helped to pay for it.
You see the beginning questions that I'm asking you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're getting red. Now you're getting flushed. I want to tell you something that is apparent to me. We just went through the last 4 years of your life. The last 4 years of your life suggests to me that you had no discretionary income. So I want to know where you got the money for thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff, sir. Is it possible that some of this stuff was purchased with the proceeds from your forged checks?
Yes, some of it probably was.
You're coming into this court and saying, well, I wrote a whole lot of bad checks that I paid for, a lot of extras for in my life. He had no right to sell it, and I want you to give me that money back.
Your Honor, some of it was obtained through legal means as far as my jobs over the course of several years. Some of it was obtained via credit and with the help of the family. I've got receipts for those showing that they were credit and cash purchases.
I don't care whether they were credit or cash purchases, or you were forging checks and cashing them.
And I also paid restitution on all of that.
How much did you pay?
$3,000.
This is $10,000 worth of merchandise, sir. How do you expect a court to differentiate between what you got through legitimate means and what you got through your forged checks?
Some of the money I had probably came from the checks, but some of it came from the web hosting company as well. Some of it came from family.
And I'm saying to you, you expect a court to spend 1 second of time, Mr. Riley, in trying to decipher what property you purchased through the sweat of your own brow, through legitimate means, and what property you purchased by using forged checks?
No.
And you expect me to spend a moment of my time?
No, Your Honor, the police...
Good! Because I'm not. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't know what was going on until he went to jail, and I spoke with his lawyer.
My theft then, I did my time. His theft now, and he's getting away with it.
He just told me that he made a mistake and he didn't mean to do it.
Whenever the police department did come in, I told them that he had nothing to do with it. He didn't know I was involved.
He wanted me to bond him out, but I wasn't going to.
The person who I had brought with me and I thought was a friend had, in the end, stabbed me in the back.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn, lại là mình đây. Các bạn ơi, chúng mình tiếp tục tìm hiểu về những bí ẩn trên bầu trời sao. Thì hôm nay chúng mình sẽ cùng nhau tìm hiểu một hành tinh mới nhé. Câu hỏi của ngày hôm nay là: vì sao kim tinh lại bị sốt cao? Đây chính là kim tinh, hay còn gọi là sao kim. Vì sao nó lại bị sốt như vậy nhỉ? Lúc nào cũng đỏ rực rỡ lên ý, và nhiệt độ thì lại rất là cao nữa. Bây giờ mình và các bạn sẽ đi giải đáp cái câu hỏi này nhé. Bạn ấy có một cái tên rất dễ thương, sao Kim, hay còn gọi là kim tinh, hoặc có thể gọi là sao hôm, sao mai, hoặc là sao Venus, tức là sao vệ nữ đấy. Thì sao Kim không được khỏe lắm, bởi vì lúc nào bạn ấy cũng bị sốt, nhiệt độ trung bình từ 465 độ C đến 485 độ C cơ. Wow, như vậy là gì? Nhiệt độ của sao Kim rất là lớn, toàn trên 400 độ C thôi. Như vậy là chứng tỏ bạn ấy bị làm sao nhỉ? Bị ốm, bị bệnh, bị sốt cao à? Không phải giải thích như vậy đâu nhá. Mình và các bạn sẽ cùng nhau khám bệnh với sao Kim nha. Các nhà khoa học ở trái đất đã khám bệnh cho sao Kim. Họ dùng máy móc thăm dò, chuẩn đoán bệnh. Hóa ra nguyên nhân gây sốt cao chính là gì? Sao Kim ở quá gần với lại mặt trời, rồi hàm lượng khí carbonic bao quanh sao Kim lại cực kỳ cao nữa. Sao Kim giống như một người luôn phải trùm một chiếc chăn bông dày, nhiệt lượng không tỏa ra ngoài được, và như vậy sốt cao là điều dễ hiểu thôi. Tức là gì? Bao quanh sao Kim ấy chính là một cái lượng khí rất lớn CO2, và khi mà gần với mặt trời này, rồi lại tiếp nhận nhiều lượng nhiệt và ánh sáng từ mặt trời, đốt nóng cái bầu CO2 này lên, và không khí thì lại không thoát được ra ngoài nữa, nhiệt lượng không thoát được ra, nên là lúc nào sao Kim cũng trong cái tình trạng như là đắp một cái chiếc chăn bông cực kỳ dày ở trên người ấy, nên là không thể nào mà không nóng được, đúng không nào? Với nhiệt độ của sao Kim là tới 465 hoặc là 865 độ C cơ, cực kỳ là bốc cháy đấy các bạn ạ. Vậy để tìm hiểu tiếp theo về sao Kim nữa và những cái bí ẩn trên bầu trời sao thì các bạn đừng quên nhấn like và ấn đăng ký kênh cho mình nhé. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở video tiếp theo.